We are faced with the reality of winter driving. Make sure you have peace of mind that your vehicle is running in top condition when you get your service done by the pros at Schumacher Goodyear. Dangerous conditions during the winter is no time to realize your vehicle is in need of repair. Get those repairs done by the best crew, Schumacher Goodyear on 13th Avenue in Fargo. They've been keeping families safe for decades. Maintaining your vehicle is even more important when bad driving conditions arise. Give yourself the edge with top-rated tires and service from Schumacher Goodyear. SchumacherSE.com.
Hi, Chad here from Minnesota Warehouse Furniture and Mattress, located in the heart of Lakes Country. We're the land of over 10,000 sleeps. We have helped our customers and their families rest easy for over 40 years, which is why year after year we've been voted the Lakes Country's best place to buy a mattress. At Minnesota Warehouse Furniture and Mattress, you get the best value on name brand mattresses and the best service. We have a large assortment of mattresses including memory foam and hybrids. It's worth the drive to Minnesota Warehouse Furniture and Mattress, located in Earhart, Minnesota. No frills, just big savings so you can rest easy.
At Hanson Runsvold Funeral Home, one of the greatest honors I have is to be invited into the life of a family who has called on us during a time of need. It is such a blessing to be a part of a community that genuinely values a life well lived and the importance of honoring that life. Having been born and raised in Fargo, and now raising my son here, I have a deeper sense of what it means to be an active member of our community. The bonds we share, the stories we live, make us who we are. Hanson Runsvold, helping families look to the future with hope.
Hey, business owners, you have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do. DavTech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. DavTech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. A decade of service with a century of experience. Online at DavTechWindowServices.com. That's DavTechWindowServices.com.
Toss out the medicine bottle. Can't remember if I took my meds today or not. Get rid of the pill dispenser. Another chore I have to do every week. Take advantage of strip packaging. MD Pharmacy in Fargo. A totally customized, sealed daily pack of your medicine in the doses just for you. Take the guesswork and time out of getting your prescriptions. Since it's local, you don't have to wait for days for your medication to arrive. Let MD Pharmacy inside the 13th Avenue Hornbachers help with your prescriptions.
MD Pharmacy, 701-364-5690. Stop by Gateway Chevrolet and check out their great selection of in-stock Chevy cars and trucks ready for immediate delivery. Take advantage of invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Equinox and invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Silverados only at Gateway Chevrolet. Plus, find out about 2.9% financing on select Chevrolet models. That's right, 2.9% on select Chevrolets and invoice pricing on 2023 Equinox and Silverados at Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB, West Fargo, Fargo-Moorhead, and KPFX, HD3 Kindred, Bison 1660. Powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
We are Buckmore. And here's what you need to know.
According to NFL Network, the Texans could have their new head coach by tomorrow or Wednesday. A deal could be done with 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans within the next 48 hours. Meanwhile, ex-Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore unemployed for less than a day. He is now taking that same job with the LA Chargers as their OC, working with Justin Herbert. Our Super Bowl matchup is set with the Eagles going toe-to-toe against the Chiefs after Kansas City yesterday had a big win against the Bengals in the AFC title game, and the Eagles were victorious against the 49ers in the NFC title game. Hockey Hall of Famer and 12-time All-Star Bobby Hull, known as the Golden Jet, has passed away. He was 84 years old, one of the most beloved names in the sport. I'm Brian Fenley.
You've got the Insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. That's right. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
And welcome on in. It is the Insiders with you, starting off another week on the show. Gang's all here. The Super Bowl is set, and we're ready to go. Appreciate you listening in. 2 hours of some sports talk on your Monday morning, midday here, and your freezing cold Monday morning because it is a chilly one out there, and it's not going to be getting any better today or tomorrow or the next day. It's going to be frigid temperatures for a couple of days here. But we're tough. We're used to it. It has not been. It's been worse than this. This is not as bad as it's ever been. Micah Bindi walks into the Olds and Ethanol studio today and goes, "Has there ever been a day colder than this one? Have you ever had anything like this?" And I said, "Well, yeah. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. There was literally a day the mayor of Fargo tweeted out and shut down the city. He said the city is shut down. My church emailed me and said we're not having service on Sunday because it was too cold. They didn't want their constituents out in the open coming to church." So, yes, I think it has been colder, but not a whole lot colder.
You know it's bad when stuff doesn't start. It's impossible to start. It's that cold. It's not that cold today.
It was on a Sunday when it was negative, with the wind chills, by negative 80, negative 85. I remember this. Because the next day, even though it got a little bit warmer, all schools were canceled because the buses wouldn't start. They literally couldn't start. It was physically impossible because it was just too cold. There's no snow. It wasn't an issue there at the roads. It was too cold. So schools were canceled. Church shut down. When the church shuts down, you know it's a little bit cold outside.
That is the litmus test of knowing if your city's operation or not. If the churches aren't opening, stay home. Hey, I almost plugged in my truck last night. I've never had a vehicle that had a engine block warmer on it. Mm-hmm. And I almost plugged it in, but someone told me, don't worry about it. You don't really need to do that. But when I started the truck this morning, it was just going, rah, rah, and then it finally kicked over. So, it's all good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's a cold one. So stay warm, stay bundled up, stay inside, and listen to us for the next couple of hours. Fun show for you. Dexter Werner going to join us up here in about 25 minutes or so. Dex at 11:30 as every Monday here during this basketball season. Appreciate his insight. Good win for the Bison men there on Friday night. Heard it was a really good crowd. Went there, looked like a really good crowd. It was a very good crowd, so I appreciated that from Bison Nation. And obviously, they were treated to a pretty good game, especially from Grant Nelson doing what he does. The dunks they're not losing, excitement. You'd think after I've seen 4, 5, 6 of them, would be like, oh, yeah, there's Grant. But every time he does it, I'm like, how does he do that? It just is phenomenal. But he did it again.
And then Wes Offerman pulled another one out of his magic book. The new call now, it is the North Dakota Floata from Grant Nelson.
North Dakota Floata?
The North Dakota Floata.
Okay. I like the Skywalker, just because I'm a Star Wars guy. But
he just keeps doing it from different spots of the court where it's like he can attack the rim from anywhere. And when you get him, when he's on a head of steam, you're not going to stop it. If you see the one where he got his career high, number 12 from UND, I'm not sure what his name was, he stepped out of the way. He could have challenged Grant up in the air.
You don't challenge 6'11".
He made a business decision to, I'm going to step aside.
Yep, you don't challenge that. That's a smart decision there. Because the only thing that's going to happen is you're probably going to foul him. You're not going to stop the dunk. It's happening at this point. The other thing that I've noticed in all these dunks the last couple of weeks from Grant is I don't know if defenders think he's not a good ball handler or not, but every single one of them, if you go and look at the video, right before Grant takes off, the defender reaches in. They reach in. And they try and take the ball, and right when they reach in, that's when he goes right around you, and you're not going to catch up to him. His legs are too long. You're not catching up to him at that point. You cannot reach in. You just got to stay back and stay down on defense and not reach in, because once you reach in, if you don't get the ball, which you're probably not going to, with his ability to handle the ball in his longer arms, you're not going to get the ball, and then he's going to blow by you, and your defense is not stopping him when he takes off.
They couldn't stop him, and it didn't matter if they had Sartsitse or BJ Omat because it was just a mismatch because Omat had the speed and quickness, but not the size. But then Sartsitse didn't have the quickness to stick with Grant, so it was just a mismatch all over the place.
And NDSU is just the better team right now. I don't think that's me being the NDSU homer or the guy that graduated from there or anything like that, or trying to throw more on the fire of UND at all. I mean, you can look at the records, but you can just look at the team. I just think NDSU is a better program right now. They just have more depth, more talent. That's the way it is. Well, those 2 games this year really weren't particularly close in that in-state rivalry. So congratulations to Dave Richmond. Hopefully the same thing happens after winning this game that happened after winning the first game against them. You go on a little 5-game winning streak now. Same thing happened after they beat UND the first time, and hopefully you got to go on the road for it to South Dakota and South Dakota State here, but hopefully you go on the road and you need a couple of wins.
Yeah, I was talking to Coach Richmond on our TV show recording. We record those every Monday, and we were talking about that and just kind of previewing, looking into that matchup. And those 2 teams are going to be hungry, and it's on the road now, and you're facing a a Coyote team, and also at South Dakota State, and looking forward to that matchup. I like what David, I didn't get to this, by the way, on the game Friday night. David had sent in a text message and said, Grant is king of the state of North Dakota. David from Devil's Lake. So Grant
Makes
Nelson,
sense. It's from Devil's Lake. Yeah.
Grant Nelson's the new king here of North Dakota.
I guess. Yep. It's on the throne. There you go.
The Bison could be the king of all the Dakotas because they could sweep the Dakotas. They have the opportunity here in these next two to go 6-0.
Gonna have to play really well to do it. Got to go on the road. Not always an easy thing to do. Got a couple of wins on the road the last time they went on a road trip, but not an easy thing to do. You got to play in Frost, which is not an easy place to win. But I do remember just seeing SDSU with a 22-point lead over the weekend against Western Illinois in Frost Arena. 22-point lead, got evaporated fairly quickly, all the way down to overtime, and then the Leathernecks dominated the overtime period. Trenton Masner had another 30-point game, and Western Illinois escaped with a win from Frost when they were down by 22 in the second half. So anything is possible down there. I don't think it's as daunting of a road venue as maybe it has been the last couple of years when you had, even going back to the Mike Dahm days, and then the last couple of years with Shireman and Wilson and all the other pieces that they've had. I just don't think it's quite as daunting of a venue because it's not as daunting as a team. They seem to have a few more holes in their game this year, but man, outside of ORU, I think everybody in the Summit League has got holes, and everybody is pretty vulnerable on that men's side. It's really going to be a toss-up. I think ORU is the clear heavy favorite to win the Summit League this year, not the regular season, but talking tournament. But after that, you can give me all the other names in a hat, and you can draw a couple, and I can make an argument for most of them.
Yeah, you can just throw them in there and shake them up. I mean, you mentioned South Dakota State. They've dropped 2 in a row now, and that hasn't been typical SDSU basketball in years past. And they lost one there at St. Thomas as well, a team that we've kind of had under the radar that has showed some improvement this season. So we'll see how things go out because they do have that one final game at Kansas City and then returning back at home, and they're going to be hungry. They're going to be fighting. They do not want to keep going down. And I agree with you. When you look at how things are lining up in the Summit League, Andy, we know RU is going to be there at the top, but then who is going to be that number 2? And it really is. You could throw anybody into that mix right now with the way things are going, minus UND, not throwing them under the bus, but that's just the reality of the situation right now.
Yeah, my bad. Actually, SDSU was at Western Illinois this last weekend, at Western Illinois and at St. Thomas. But still, at home, haven't been quite as dominant as I think they've been in years past. Had some closer games with teams than they've had in the last couple of years. And, they've been winning at home, obviously. When you look at their overall record, at home they're 6-1, but I just think it's a slightly more vulnerable team. Still got to go on the road and do it. It's a tough place to play, no doubt about that. But had a couple of games this last week at St. Thomas, lost that one 60-54, and then had a 22-point lead in Macomb at Western Illinois, and lost that one in overtime, 81-73, the final there. So, yeah, it was some confusing games there over the weekend, but I think on the men's side, the Summit League is wide open this year, completely wide open. And so looking forward to seeing if the Bison men can go on the road, tough places to play, get a couple of wins. I think the most head-scratching team this year is probably South Dakota, a team they're going to face this week too. That was a team I would have picked probably finished in the top 3. I wouldn't have been surprised if they were top 2 or even had won the league, but I said top 3 seems like a really good spot for them. They were really good a year ago when people didn't think they were going to be that great. I know new coaching staff, but you have all the guard play that they had, all the guards coming back, and then you add in A.J. Plitzewet, you add in Paul Bruns, and that was going to be better. They've been pretty inconsistent too. So chance for a couple of wins there for the Bison men. On the women's side, unfortunate result on Saturday. Was a really good crowd on hand up there in Grand Forks at the Betty, and over 2,000 people in attendance. It was a fun atmosphere, cool place to call a game for the first time, and unfortunately for the Bison women, they just couldn't get the job done. Didn't get a chance to go in there and make the plays when they needed to. Jory Collins even said after the game he thought that UND wanted to win it more than NDSU, and that was pretty disappointing for him and for the team. NDSU had won 8 straight, so this one was going to mean quite a bit to UND. They had been undefeated at home, still are undefeated at home. No one has this exact stat. You have field goal percentage and 3-point percentage, but I don't think anybody has an exact what's your field goal percentage inside of a foot of the basket? But I got to guess NDSU was 30% from inside a foot. I mean, the amount of layups and floaters and tip-ins that just rolled all the way around and rolled off or just grazed the rim, came up short, the ones that they always make. You make it 8 out of 10 times, and they just couldn't find a way to make any of those. It was a confusing game offensively, but now they get a chance to come home, and it's 2 massive games at home this week for the Bison women. They get USD on Thursday and SDSU coming up on Saturday. Two really good teams coming into the Shields Center, but you get a chance to hopefully hold on to second place. You get USD coming in. USD's in third. That was the good news from Saturday, is that they also lost to St. Thomas, and that was in Vermilion. So with St. Thomas beating USD means that NDSU is still second in the Summit League right now, but you got to beat USD to stay in second. You're only really a half game ahead of them. You did beat USD already this year in Vermilion. If they win this one, they sweep the season series, have what would basically then be a 2.5 game lead for second place over USD, and they'd have to face SDSU still. USD would, so would the Bison at that point. And you got a team like ORU that would still have to face SDSU too. So a win on Thursday goes a long, long ways to helping NDSU just about secure and wrap things up in terms of the second seed overall in the Summit League this season. So that is a massive game on Thursday night. Encourage Bison Nation to get out there and support this Bison women's basketball team with some really good games on Thursday and Saturday. We do have tickets to both of those games. Will be given away throughout the week, today, tomorrow, and the next couple of days for NDSU women's basketball versus USD on Thursday night, and then against SDSU Saturday afternoon inside the Shack.
Yeah, I wanted to go back and just give a shout out to Scott Anderson and the guys over there with the men's game, and the drone footage was awesome. He flew that drone in behind the guys as they ran out. Dexter he actually kind of nudged me and said, "Did you feel that while ago?" I said, "Did I feel what?" He goes, "The drone flew right over our head." Well, I was in the middle of reading a bunch of stuff. I didn't even notice it, but it flew right over our head. He's like, "Yeah, you could feel the wind from it." So it was really cool perspective and gaining some traction on NDSU men's basketball Twitter. Just the creative work and the effort that those guys put in is bar none the best in anything that I've seen in a long time in college sports.
Yeah, it was cool, and that's going to be used for a whole bunch of other things, I'd have to assume. So a good crowd on hand for that one. Congratulations to the men. Women going to get back after things. We do have the Bison Coaches Shows tonight. Men's basketball coaches show from 6 to 7 tonight with you and Coach Richmond, Rob. Looking forward to that one. And then 7 to 7:30, myself with Jory Collins, and also Taylor Brown will stop by here this week. Transfer into the program. Been really fun to have Taylor on the team. She's given a certain level of just experience and professionalism, I think, to this squad, and been a great addition this year to the Bison women's basketball team. We'll have Jory and Taylor in, and a very jubilant Jory Collins on that show because his Kansas City Chiefs, they pulled it off. They're playing for another Super Bowl. I texted him yesterday after the game and said, I don't know how he does it, but he continues to do it. Mahomes just magical on a bum ankle that clearly was affecting him a little bit. Didn't run very much, but when they needed him to run, he ran there at the end. You have the unfortunate penalty that was a penalty. I don't get anyone on social media saying
penalty.
It wasn't it shouldn't have been called. Or like, this is my favorite one. The people say, oh yeah, it was clearly a penalty, but the refs, you can't blow it there. You can't decide the game with the call. No, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. You said it was a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's a penalty in the first quarter, it's a penalty in the fourth. The refereeing is already hard enough. You can't ask them to be like, oh, how much time's on the clock? What's the score? Should I call it? Should I not? No, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. It was. Joseph Asai hit him with 2 feet out of bounds. He hit him late. You shouldn't have done it. And it was 15 yards, and it turned it from like a 59-yard field goal to a 44-yard field goal, and Harrison Butker easily made it, and the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. That's the bounces. That's the way football goes. Don't commit penalties, and that won't happen. But you can't ask the referees to not call a penalty that was clearly a penalty, because then what they're doing is just, people say that's deciding the game one way. No, if you don't call it when it's a clear penalty, you're also deciding the game the other way. So you have to call it if there's a penalty, and that was obviously a penalty. Were there missed calls? Yes. There was also some on that punt return before that game-winning drive for Kansas City. There's a clear and obvious block in the back that was also missed. So they missed some penalties. You can say it was inconsistent, but overall, I mean, that last call, you have to call it. It was a pretty clear penalty.
Yeah, it was 2 feet out of bounds, like you said. And, I mean, listening to the game, and none better than Nance and Romo. I love just how they work together. Romo was like immediately like, oh, you can't. You know how he gets. He's just like, oh, you can't.
Oh, I know how
that.
he gets. Yes, I know exactly how he gets.
That just cost you the game. I mean, when Romo's telling it, it's over. You know that.
Oh,
Romo
yeah,
knows
you
what
know
he's
when
talking
Romo's saying something. Yeah, you absolutely. I can't stand him. I still can't stand him. I just think he's nauseating to listen to.
I'm now on Andy's team.
Yep.
It was rough listening to Tony Romo last night. It was bad.
2-on-1 now.
Nah, it was good.
He's getting dragged through the mud on social media, too.
Did Nance let him call the field goal? Because it didn't sound like Jim Nance's voice.
No, Jim tries to call, and Tony goes, oh, but here's the game, Jim. Oh, Jim, here we go.
No, but I mean,
that's what happened. Jim tries to call, and Tony just can't stop talking.
I can't tell if it was Nance or Romo, to be honest, because Nance doesn't, he has a little bit of umph and he gets a little bit excited. Yeah. But that field goal did not sound like Nance at all. But Nance didn't even set it up.
If
it wasn't him, I'll have to go back and see that.
Tony he yells all the time, over the top. In my opinion, he's just exhausting to listen to. He has good insight into some things. He just doesn't. He keeps talking certain times. And
okay,
Micah came in today and said, "I'm on your side, Andy." So I felt good.
All right. So what? Joe Buck or Tony Romo? Who'd you rather listen to now?
Joe Buck.
They do completely different things.
Well, that doesn't matter. Who's more annoying?
Yes, it does.
Who's more annoying?
Joe Buck doesn't annoy me as much.
I'm going with the annoying.
I think it's more annoying.
The more annoying.
Yeah.
Thing.
More annoying is Tony Romo now.
Yeah.
Right now, I've never been annoyed by Jim.
I've never been annoyed
Joe
by
Buck.
Joe Buck. I think he overhypes some things, but it's kind of his job a little bit. So Tony's just too much. It's over. He's always yelling.
He's not adding it. Jim!
First quarter, 1st and 5, they get a first down. It's like, game-saving play. Jim, did you see it, Jim? Yes, we saw it, Tony. I just saw the play. Yes, I saw that one. Thank you, though.
Say each other's names as much as possible.
Yeah.
Jim and Tony.
He says Jim. I want to count the times he says Jim in a broadcast.
Well,
it's got to be 50.
I did notice that Jim also says Tony a lot, too.
They do. I don't know why.
Name recognition, then it's like branding.
It's
like
guess.
Branding on live
Say
TV.
your guys' names again.
See, you have to work out a system as a play-by-play guy and an analyst, and Dex and I have worked it out. Everyone's different. Everyone has different chemistry. Phil and I took a little bit to get it going, but the way that you do it, the way that Dex and I do it is I just tap him on the shoulder or tap him on his elbow. You never see it if you're watching behind the mic. And that's how we go back and forth. You'll never hear us overstep each other.
Next football season, just end every sentence when you want Phil. Just
Phil?
Yeah, Phil.
I did that. So
what a play. Great pass down the field, Phil.
My very first college football broadcast, I learned the hard way because Brian Adams and I didn't have chemistry. We had literally met on the plane. That was where we first met. Didn't have a chance to talk much before the weeks leading up. And I kept saying, Brian. And a guy tweeted me, and I saw it at halftime, and I was like, this guy's right. And so after that, I quit saying it. But it literally, I went back and listened and like, hey, how about that, Brian?
Yeah.
So
all the time. That's just a me thing. But and Tony provides some good insight. I was really, really good early on. The thing is, he's got like a 10-year deal. He's not going anywhere. I'm well aware of that. He's going to be staying on CBS for a long time. But we'll see if things change. But overall, I think he's a little exhausting to listen to, me personally. Chiefs do get the win over the Bengals, 23-20. That was a phenomenal back-and-forth game. You never really felt like either team was safe. It should have probably gone to overtime. I was really looking forward to an overtime period in that one. And with the new overtime rules, especially basically being created because of the Chiefs and their overtime games the last couple of years, when you had the one against the Patriots where Mahomes doesn't get the ball, and then you had the one against the Bills where Josh Allen doesn't get the ball, and it finally got that thing right in the NFL. Didn't end up going to overtime, but you willed the Chiefs back in the Super Bowl. They're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, which means, by the way, Rob Hipp and I were perfect on our picks. Nice job, Rob. Micah, you were terrible. You had one wrong.
I was not good, and I wasn't good with my bets either. There wasn't enough touchdowns scored.
What was your gut telling? My gut told me that this was going to be the matchup. The heart didn't. What did your gut tell you? Were you going with your heart or with your gut?
I was trying to use my mind.
Oh, so a whole new facade here.
Yeah,
on
you
this.
had Bengals Niners. You were 0-2.
I didn't. Brock Purdy got hurt.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but you were 0-2.
That doesn't matter. Like, I'm not going to account for Brock Purdy getting hurt. If Purdy plays that game, I think the Niners win.
Well, also had the Niners winning 28-17. You thought they'd hold the Eagles to 17. That didn't happen.
They had under 200 yards passing. You're telling me that you were impressed by Jalen Hurts?
No, I'm just saying that the Eagles scored more than the 17 you thought they were going to score, which was 31. They ran the ball like crazy.
Was always on the field. The Niners never kept the ball because Purdy was hurt.
It's very true. That was a massive part of that one. That's when people say like the refereeing was bad in that game too, and that's what really cost the Niners. I'm like, no, what cost the Niners was having to go to Josh Johnson and then a Brock Purdy with a messed up elbow. That's what cost the 49ers. You just can't take 4 injuries to your quarterback position.
It's hard. You can't win games this late in the game.
They did have Jimmy Garoppolo. He wasn't active. That's why they couldn't use him. But apparently he was healthy enough. He could have played. They should have had him active as a third emergency quarterback.
Should have had Jimmy G. That's the way it would have worked. Hey, I was looking. So, fans, whenever your team loses, you always want to blame the officiating.
Mm-hmm.
I did a little research real quick. Do you have any idea on the accuracy? How accurate are officials in a game? Give it a percentage. How much accurate do you think they are?
I'd go like 85%.
So each NFL game averages 154 plays, and this is directly from NFL operations, by the way. Of course they're gonna say this. Game officials are typically accurate on 98.9% of calls.
It's probably inaccurate. You could call holding on every play. Some people say, "Oh, look at all the holdings that weren't called." You could call holding on every play. And I love the false start ones on the Eagles when they say Lane Johnson's always false starting, and they go frame by frame. It's like super duper slow-mo frame by frame. See, look, he left early. I'm like, okay, that's not the look the ref gets. So how about you speed that thing up to real time, and we'll tell exactly what happens there. He got off basically as the ball's getting snapped. He has a great get-off, whatever. But they weren't false starts. That's not what decided that game. What decided that game with the Eagles and the Niners was you had Brock Purdy get hurt, then Josh Johnson got hurt, and then Brock Purdy's throwing with a elbow that can't even function. He can throw it like maybe 5 yards. And they had to run, and the Eagles took advantage of it. They're supposed to. They still won the game, but unfortunately, it really wasn't much of a game at that point. It got to 7-7, but at that point you knew this wasn't going to be a game. And the Eagles got lucky in that regard that the quarterback got hurt, but then they took advantage of having that luck on their side.
No doubt about it. I don't think it'll be a good Super Bowl. I think the Chiefs will dominate. I'll call that right now.
Eagles are favorites. Eagles are 2.5-point favorites right now.
Oh, man.
Opening line.
I'll take the Chiefs money line right now.
It means the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
I think it's going to be another close matchup just like KC and the Bengals. I don't think that it's going to be this breakaway game, but my heart wants Kansas City to win. My gut tells me it's the Eagles.
I'm with you.
The Eagles got a better defense than the Chiefs, in my opinion. I think they're more of a complete team, but the best player on the field is going to be for Kansas City.
Mahomes.
Because Mahomes will be healthier. The ankle's going to be fine in a couple of weeks, so get that thing back to close enough to 100% where you can actually run and really affect the game that way and scramble around a little bit more. And then you got to find an answer for Travis Kelce, and they've got to get healthy at receiver. I mean, they were down to their 5th and 6th receiver. They didn't have Juju Smith-Schuster. Marquez Valdez-Scantling was great for him, actually. He was healthy, I think, the whole game, but McCole Hardman got hurt. Sky Moore got hurt. They had tight ends playing receiver. It was a mash unit there out wide for Kansas City, so they got to get healthy. Eagles look to be just fine health-wise, and Jalen Hurts' shoulder is held up just fine. I don't think there's been any ill effects there. I think it will be a really, really good game. And I thought those two teams are going to get to the Super Bowl because they were the more complete teams compared to the teams they were facing. That's why I picked them, and I think the Eagles are probably the more complete team, but the best player on the field is going to be on the offensive side for Kansas City. He's a guy that's been there, done that in the Super Bowl before, been to a couple of them. Jalen Hurts, this will be his first time in a Super Bowl as well, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be a great game. Looking forward to it, and we'll see. I would probably lean towards the Chiefs right now, but right now the Eagles are the favorites by 2.5 in Vegas, whatever that means.
One of my favorite just storylines is just the Andy Reid, man. Old team versus new team. I think it's going to be exciting just to have
Reid
that.
Bowl.
And has that happened before? I want to go back and research that. Has there been a Super Bowl matchup with the head coach that has coached with the previous team that's in that Super Bowl?
Don't know. Other thing is it's the Kelce Bowl. We got Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce both in it. So
my heart's telling me Chiefs, but that's just because I dislike the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh yeah. I hope the Eagles lose 57 to -10. That's what I hope happens. But I don't want them to have any success, but I thought they were going to beat the Niners. So.
The Eagles, I think, have a huge advantage in the trenches, which is where they usually win their games, is on their offensive, defensive line, and that's how they won yesterday, too. Yeah. Besides the Brock Purdy getting hurt, they were beating him up on the offensive, defensive line.
They ran for over 200 yards, I believe, total. So
and just huge gaps in the middle. So,
yep, their offensive line is phenomenal. You got Lane Johnson. Obviously, Jason Kelce is as good as it gets at the center position. I thought Landon Dickerson was a phenomenal player coming out of the draft. I was hoping the Vikings were going to draft him. They didn't, and now he's like an all-pro at, I think, left guard, which would be a perfect spot for the Vikings. They need a great interior lineman, but he's an Eagle and playing really well. They've got a great offensive line, got plenty of guys on the defensive line. That's why I think they're there. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit last week after you had the championship matchups. The quarterback's the most important position in football. I think the next most important position is your offensive line. Now, you see it with NDSU at the college ranks. You see it all the time, really, in the college ranks. Teams that invest up front and invest in the lines usually are the better teams. The Eagles, if you take Jalen Hurts out and you put in Gardner Minshew, I'm not saying they're as good. We clearly saw that. They lost a couple of games with Gardner Minshew. That's why the quarterback position is the most important. But you could still get some things done. They scored a lot of points with Gardner Minshew in their first game against the Cowboys. If you were to take Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce and they both were hurt and out for the game, Jalen Hurts isn't going to be as effective. Because what they do in the running game, you wouldn't be able to do it. I think the offensive line for the Eagles might even be slightly more important than what they have at quarterback with Jalen Hurts. Because their running game with Sanders and Gainwell and Boston Scott and everything else they do it's all predicated because their offensive line is the best in the game.
Which it's amazing that, like, we always talk about, win the battle in the trenches. That can be a key to the game. That can be a key to every single football game. But then teams constantly, like the Vikings, don't draft well on the offensive line, and then they're just stuck.
It's not sexy. Because, like, in the first round, if you draft a wide receiver, everyone's, oh, my gosh, look at this guy. We got the difference maker. You draft an offensive lineman, they're like,
nobody likes talking about it.
Okay, let's talk about who do they get in the second round. Like, we don't even talk about him if they draft an offensive lineman in the first round. But you should. I think that's the most, you need a great pass rush, you need a great corner, you need other positions too. But offensive line needs to improve across the board for a lot of teams. And I think when you look at the two teams that made it this year, a couple of years ago after the Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, when Mahomes was sacked like 6 times, what'd they do? They went out and traded for a left tackle. They signed the best interior lineman in free agency. Then they drafted a center in Creed Humphrey, who's now like an all-pro guy, and they drafted him in the first or the second round. They invested heavily into it. The Eagles have the best offensive line in the game. And defensively, they're great, too, on the lines. Both teams. We saw what Frank Clark was able to do and what Chris Jones was able to do, continuously getting to Joe Burrow yesterday. So offensive and defensive lines, I think, get overshadowed a lot. But these two teams are phenomenal in the trenches, and I think that's the second most important reason why they are there, outside of, obviously, the quarterback position when they have really, really good cornerbacks or quarterbacks. We'll take a break, though. We'll come back. We'll shift our focus, talk a little bit about NDSU men's basketball, the color analyst on the Pioneer Seeds Bison Radio Network, when Dexter Werner will stop by and give us some time on the program. You're listening to The Insiders, as always, brought to you by Proseed. If you need seed, think Proseed online at proseed.net.
Hear the herd here. Bison's 1660.
I think what makes Proseed win is we're different than the other companies in many ways with our programming, our simplicity, our non-corporate attitudes, and our personal relationship building.
What Proseed is, we bring back the old-fashioned seed buying experience. We're true seedsmen. We care about everything from the sale to the planting to following up afterwards. That's what we're all about, is just trying to bring that experience back to a personal level.
Need seed? Think Proseed. Proseed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Hey, business owners. You have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do. DavTech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. DavTech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products, as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. A decade of service with a century of experience. Online at DavTechWindowServices.com. That's DavTechWindowServices.com.
Snow, ice, and below zero temps. Typical Midwest weather, but not so kind to your vehicle. That's why Jiffy Lube of Fargo is here to make sure you have your vehicle in top working condition and ready for these winter roads and temps. Oil changes are the #1 maintenance item that's neglected. At Jiffy Lube of Fargo, no appointment needed at any of the 3 locally owned locations. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, where you can do more in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube of Fargo, proudly serving the metro area for 5 decades.
Starting a New Year's resolution and not following up is silly. Going to North Dakota's only smart e-gym is smart and easy to follow through. When starting a new gym, start one that is so smart that knows exactly how much you lift, how long you lift for, and how many reps you do. Your full body workout is complete in 22 minutes. Our e-gym at Apex in South Fargo takes the guesswork out of working out and makes a daily workout a no-brainer. Try it today for the best workout of your life. For more, visit apexptwellness.com.
Golf Addiction has some great news. They know you're sick of the snow, so get back on the course at Golf Addiction. Grab your group and take advantage of the brand new 2, 3, 4 deal Sunday through Thursday from 8 to 5. Golf 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours on the newly upgraded simulators at great prices. 2 hours just $50, 3 hours only $75, and 4 hours of golf just $100. Plus, enjoy a full-service bar and food at Golf Addiction, your indoor virtual golf bar and grill serving the FM area for over 8 years.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla, with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
You may not have heard, but the Insiders is now under new management.
Did you see the memo about this?
Here's Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
And I'll go ahead and make sure you get another copy of that memo. Okay?
On Bison 1660.
This hour of the Insiders brought to you by Rick Electric. When you need electrical work, you need Rick Electric. For over 56 years, Rick Electric has been providing excellent electrical services for homes and businesses. Visit them online at rickelectric.com. Andy Rickoff, Rob Hipp, Micah Bindi in here with you on a Monday on the show. You can watch our shows live on our Facebook page on Bison 1660 there on Facebook via our Horsch Cam, Horsch Farming with Passion, online at horsch.com. That's HORSCH.com. Appreciate everybody watching us today. Wave to you on the cameras. You can watch us there on Facebook. Let's jump over, though, to our Epic Companies hotline right now. Bring on the color analyst on the Pioneer Seeds Bison Radio Network for Bison men's basketball, Dexter Werner. Nice enough to stop by once again on a Monday. Dex, great to have you on, sir. How was your weekend? Was it full with watching some NFL football there the last day?
Hey, happy Monday, fellas.
Happy
right?
Monday.
You know, I can't think of a better way to start my week than talking to you two. So, good weekend. We got a Bison win. We got some football. I don't want to dive into the refs here this morning on Insiders. I think we'll let the Twitter people tackle that thing. But yeah, good weekend. Good weekend to relax and stay inside because it was really cold.
The Twitter people are absolutely tackling away at that one. We can leave that to them and let the Twitter referees decide who won the AFC and NFC championship games. But you're right, we got a win. NDSU men's basketball with another impressive lopsided victory against the in-state rival. And Grant Nelson, again, proving why he is one of the best players in the Summit League this season. I said this in the first segment, Dex, that, man, he's done this a bunch. He's got to have like 5 or 6 of these dunks already this year where you're just like jaw-dropping. But I don't get tired of them at all. It's at no point am I like, yep, I kind of expect that from Grant. Every time he does it, it's just a moment you want to just sit and stare.
Yeah, Grant had another great weekend. Obviously had a big game with 36 points, and they needed that with Andrew Morgan being, gone. So it was one of those games where they needed him to step up and have that big time game for them to be able to compete, and that's exactly what he did.
Tajavis Miller, and Dex, good to hear from you. Tajavis Miller, it was good to see him get into rhythm, finishing up with 10 points. What have you just liked to see about him lately? He's starting to get more involved, getting more minutes, and also making baskets. That's important for a young man that's trying to grow with this program.
I think Tajavis is definitely getting comfortable, and that's great to see. And I think the biggest thing for him is just being healthy, right? He's being able to string together games, and I don't care if you're a first-year guy or a fourth-year guy. It's really hard to keep that basketball groove and kind of stay in a focus and a rhythm if you're, playing a couple games and then you're tweaking the same injury and you're out for a couple games and then back and forth. So I think the biggest thing for him and kind of that stride for him to keep getting comfortable and playing better is I think he's just been staying healthy, which is huge for him.
Yeah, the win there over UND, you get that victory. I think it's important because you obviously had lost the 2 games prior to that one at home. So it gets them back on the winning side of things. Now this week you got a couple of tough road tests ahead, but the last time they faced UND, they got the win, and that kind of propelled them on a 5-game winning streak there, Dex. And when you get a win like this over the in-state rival, what kind of momentum can you take from it? Just the good vibes when you go on the road here to take on the 2 South Dakota schools.
It's just a confidence thing, especially with these young guys. They got to go on the road. They got to, play more like they did in that UND game, especially the second half on both ends of the floor compared to how they played in that stretch where they lost those 2 at home. So I think if anything, a win like that shows that you're capable of putting together some complete basketball. Like Coach Richmond said, I think their defense and their rebounding was lacking a little bit in the first half, but I don't think it was for a lack of energy. So I think a team like this, if they can come out and bring that type of energy for 40 minutes, especially with the league being the way it is this year, you bring that energy and you're going to have a chance to beat anybody.
When we look at these games on Thursday and Saturday on the road, Dex, we know Grant Nelson's going to be a force. He continues to play well. Who else really do you see that needs to step up? Maybe someone that we haven't talked about a lot this season.
I don't really see Rob as having an individual that needs to step up, but I just think that I think a big thing that for NDSU is going to help immensely is going to be their three-point shooting. I don't think they need to be, top tier where they're just knocking them down all the time and they're going to beat you with the three ball. But the big thing that I see with this NDSU team is they've got their guys, Andrew Morgan and Grant Nelson. I mean, that's just a really, really tough matchup for them in the Summit League, especially with them playing side by side like they have been. That's really tough for teams to guard. So that's where you kind of got to make decisions. Are we going to throw bodies down there and go double the post? Or are we going to try to man up? And I like NDSU's odds in those chances when they're playing one-on-one. So when teams are throwing doubles, if the big guys are able to pass out and have some guys knocking down a few threes, like I said, it doesn't need to be at an insane clip, but if they can keep their three-point shooting going, where, I think it's been pretty decent the last few games, that makes the decision to go double the big guys a lot harder, and it makes teams guard you more straight up.
Yeah, going down to Frost Arena this week. Obviously, you have Vermilion too. You have USD and SDSU, but SDSU is right there with you in terms of that third spot in the standings right now. When you look at SDSU and going down to Frost Arena, very difficult place to go play. I haven't lost there in conference this season. Do have a loss there this year, 6-1 at home, but I haven't lost in conference. Had a couple of close games, 71-64 versus St. Thomas, and the same score there against Western Illinois. So a couple teams been close, but no one's knocked them off there this year. What are your memories from going down to the Brookings and the atmosphere, the crowd right on top of you, and everything that goes into that game?
It's just always one of those games that you get excited for as a player. I would venture to call SDSU the biggest rivalry that NDSU has for basketball, and even you can look at that as football now too. So it's just two schools that always have a good competition when they go head to head, and going down to Frost, they always do a great job filling that place up. It's a cool atmosphere, and they just play really well at home. So it's the type of road trip where you got to be sharp because you got to bring your A game to go in there.
We're halfway through the season and now one game over that halfway mark, Dex. And as a former player, there's always pressure, of course, that you got to get out and compete and win every game. But do you start to feel a compounded sense of pressure now that, this is a stretch? You're going down now and really trying to battle for those top spots in your conference?
Yeah, I think it really just gets to the point where, now you're looking at things outside of your own team, and as much as you don't want to do that, you kind of do have to analyze everything. You're looking at standings, you're looking at what you have a chance for seedings and who you're going to play and keeping guys healthy, and there's just a lot of factors that go into finishing the second half of conference. Your body starts to get run down. It's a long season for these guys. They play hard, and this is kind of that point of the year where you just want to try to do your best to stay healthy. You still got to stay on top of school, and you just got to get out there and compete. So there's a lot of things going on this time of year where it can be, pretty mentally and physically draining. So I think the biggest thing for guys this time of year is just staying sharp because you got to go out and compete every night. And just like I've said before, these Summit games, it doesn't matter who you're playing. Wins are huge, and losses can hurt you big time at this time of the year. So as much as you don't want to say that you got to go win, I mean, you do. It's winning time. It's going to be February and March here, so you got to go win some games.
Yeah, Dexter Werner here with us on the Epic Companies hotline. And you played for Dave Richmond. You know what it's like to play under him, and he always preaches. He has every year. He will continue to do this every year. We want to be playing our best basketball in February and March, and things aren't always smooth early on. We saw that this year was a rough start, but you knew there's going to be some things that got better, and you're going to see some improvement. Obviously, we've seen that quite a bit. When you get to the month of February here, coming up here in just a couple of days, what's it like with the Dave Richmond coached team? How do you really dive into the details, and how do you get better this last month of the season? Because it seems like it's easy to say. He says it all the time, but it's actually true. Every single year I've been here, it seems like late February and early March, something clicks and something's different, and they have been playing their best basketball.
Yeah, it could be a number of things. It could just be, a young guy finally starts to figure it out, and he's that fourth or fifth piece that kind of makes the team more complete. But really, when you're playing on a Coach Richmond team and you roll into this time of the year, I mean, you know that with a month left in the season, you're not going to try to reinvent the wheel. Nothing's going to change, right? It's too far along for that. So it's just he's looking for guys to stay mentally locked in and keep doing the little things. I know that's a cliche that people hear on the Bison program a lot, but it's nothing crazy that's going to give them that next step to success. It's going to be a bunch of guys buying in and doing little things. So it's it's a very mentally taxing time, I would say, more than anything, because you just got to keep executing, and it's been a grind to get to this point, but he just wants to see guys stay locked in and finish out the year the best they can.
Dex, I'm going to step away from hoops just for a moment. Well, it's on the broadcasting side. I enjoyed your son, Nixon, being there. It's a question that I've been wanting to ask you. It's been on my mind all weekend. When is Nixon going to replace you as the analyst?
Well, I know he had his moment with a hot mic in postgame there. He got a hold of that press mic box. But, yeah, he had a blast at the game, and, he's only 3 turning 4 in April. I think it's confusing because he looks like he's 8. So he might be jumping into broadcasting earlier than we thought here, Rob.
When are we going to have you fly the drone? Is that next game? Have you fly the drone in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always up for a challenge, Andy. I don't foresee me guiding a drone going well. I might have a little too much attention deficit for that, and I might run into some. I've hit that scoreboard in the shack before during my career. I wouldn't be surprised if I could pull that off with a drone. So
well, there you go. It looked cool though. You guys looked great on the drone camera. So appreciate you being there, and appreciate you on the broadcast there with Rob. And thanks for jumping on with us here again. And looking forward to these games. NDSU, SDSU is always a phenomenal game, and USD is a team that I think we thought highly of. They've been a little bit up and down, but a tough place to go and play in Vermilion as well. So looking forward to these 2 games this week and catching up with you again next week as well. Dex, thanks for the time.
Yeah, it should be a good stretch. I'm excited to see how the guys step up and go on the road this week.
There you go, Dexter Werner. You hear him on the Pioneer Seeds Bison Radio Network alongside Rob Hipp and all the Bison home games. Appreciate him very much, and 2 huge games. These are big ones, and you'll love it when it comes down towards this last month of the season when you're in contention for stuff and you're not towards the bottom of the conference, and you feel like you don't really have a shot. I said it already this show. And ORU is really, really good. They're going to be tough to beat. And when they've got the ability to score like they do with Max Asmus and Connor Vanover, but they can also shut you down defensively, it's a really tough team to beat. Outside of that, you could pick a number of teams. You could tell me NDSU, SDSU, Western Illinois, USD, UMKC's had some good, bright moments. There's a number of teams you could pick and tell me. Even St. Thomas, like they could make a run. Any of those teams have beaten the other, and they're capable of winning a couple of games and getting to a conference championship game. And then once you're in the conference championship game, I mean, anything is possible at that point, especially if it is against ORU, because it's typically it's been SDSU that's the favorite, and it's in Sioux Falls, and the turnout they're going to have. But let's say it's like ORU NDSU, like you're not going to have maybe that same crowd of fighting against all of Jackrabbit Nation there in Sioux Falls. You're going to have more of a split fan base, which would be kind of fun.
Yeah, just get to the dance. So once you're in the Summit League tournament, play your best ball, and you play your best game every single opportunity you're out there. That's we see that a lot from Dave Richmond coach teams.
They really do tend to get better. There's been years where they've head scratching early on in conference. It's like, I don't think this is the year. It's not very good. And all of a sudden, they win like 5 of 6 at the end of the year. They're the 3 seed or the 4 seed. They make a run. They beat Omaha in the conference championship game, or something like that in past years. Or even they beat an SDSU team, or SDSU gets upset in the tournament and you beat ORU in the conference championship game, something like that. You got hot at the right time, and we'll see what happens here. 4 weeks basically to go. We'll see who gets hot at the right time and who can be the one that's raising the banner at the end on top of the Summit League for the men's side and on the women's side. I think it's going to be wide open there too. Outside of, again, one really dominant team in SDSU, really, really good. But then you got NDSU and USD right there neck and neck for the top 2 seed. I think they got a couple of other really good teams. ORU's hot right now, and they can outscore just about anybody in the league. They struggle a little bit defensively, but they can outscore you. And there's a bunch of teams on that women's side that can also contend to get to that championship game in the conference. And once you're there, anybody I think can beat SDSU. SDSU's had some very close games at home and on the road this year. So anything could happen, I think, on both sides, which is exactly what you want it to be this time of the year.
I think on the men's side, too, it's those road wins. Those are golden nuggets this year because only one team has a record above 500 on the road, and that's Oral Roberts. Every other team is sub 500 on the road, so it just tells you how tough it is to go and play at another opponent's facility. So I think that's going to be a big takeaway, and how are the Bison going to be able to respond on the road even after this victory? How are they going to go out against USD and SDSU, and can they pull off some wins? Because that's something that really stands out, Andy. As we were discussing and talking to Dex, I was just trying to think about what really stands out in the Summit League this year on the men's side. Well, one is Western Illinois, how well they've been playing, and then 2, it's just that inability for teams to win much on the road this year.
Bison are 3-2 on the road in conference.
Yeah, but I'm looking
like overall.
Yeah, just overall, yeah.
In conference, 3-2 on the road, and those 2 losses came in the first road trip of the season. So hopefully at the end of this road trip, you're still above 500 on the road, and if you get a couple of those wins, you should be in a pretty good spot. Especially if you beat SDSU, then you're in a really good spot for the 3 seed at the very least. A huge matchup with Western Illinois later on in the year. That one's going to be important because it is at home. You get them on the last game of the regular season, February 25th, and that one might be for the 2 seed with the way Western's playing. Trenton Masner, he's putting himself in discussion for Player of the Year. I think it's a 3-horse race. Max Asmus, Trenton Masner, Grant Nelson. And if I'm being honest, I think Max Asmus is about a length. If it was a horse race, he's about a horse and a half ahead of the other 2 right now. He's got quite a bit of a lead, in my opinion. I think Asmus will be the Player of the Year. But Masner and Nelson have definitely at least entered the conversation here over these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Nelson has to be in that discussion with just how he's been playing, and Masner's been that other guy as well. So that's what I like. I like seeing how these guys are stepping up, and we know how good Max Asmus is, but I like having a Grant Nelson and a Masner in that discussion as well. It's good to have some other guys around him.
I think Max is the most important player, you could say, but Grant Nelson's that player nobody wants to see, just because, you got the 6'11", you got the size, you got the defensive ability, the 3-point shot, the dunking. Nobody wants to see Grant Nelson coming downhill, as we've already laid out.
If Grant Nelson continues to play like this down the stretch in these last 8 Summit League games, I feel like, he does it on the defensive end too, which I'm not going to call Max Asmus a bad defender, but I wouldn't say he's as impactful of a defender as Grant Nelson is.
I would agree with you. And again, if you have Max Asmus coming full speed down the lane, I'll challenge him. You got Grant Nelson coming full speed on the lane. I'm running to the other side of the court. I'm getting way away because that guy is going to jump and he's going to put me on a poster like he's done to so many already this year. We'll take a break. We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1 for you. Hour number 2, phone lines open for you as well. Make sure you call in 701-476-1660. Anything you want to touch on or talk about, we're here for you today on the Insiders here on Bison 1660.
Where the bison roam. Bison 1660.
Comfort King, wake up!
I don't want to, Night-Night.
You must! The Knights of the Round Mattress have assembled to address the foreign mattress invaders.
Yes, box beds and foam mattresses have infected the kingdom, causing poor sleep for too many of our citizens.
They've been tricked into buying beds without even laying on them. It's madness!
If only they knew that Honorable Comfort King makes the world's best mattress and comes with a soft spot warranty and a lifetime comfort guarantee.
Comfort King Mattress Factory for queens and kings.
And peasants too.
The Start Something New sales event is going on now at Corwin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Drive off in a new Ram Bighorn truck with financing as low as 1.9% and up to $9,000 off in rebates. That's 1.9% financing and up to $9,000 off on new Ram Bighorn. That's not all. Save up to $4,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokees. Your new vehicle is waiting for you at Corwin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Shop online, corwinauto.com.
No matter where you work, whether it's at your kitchen table or in the office, you need to collaborate with your team. ProConnect from Consolidated Communications makes it happen. You'll never miss a call when you can answer from your desk phone, laptop, or cell phone. And you can communicate instantly using real-time messaging. Confidently connect with customers over secure video conferencing and work together to create and share documents. Get ready to connect, collaborate, and communicate brilliantly. Choose ProConnect, your team collaboration tool from Consolidated Communications.
That was not the countdown to a new year. That was the countdown to your new countertops. Don't start a new year with your old, outdated house. Instead, call Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley today. In just a few hours, they can repair and refinish your outdated countertops, sink, tub, or shower. Call Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley at 701-526-3800.
Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley. Don't replace, repair, and refinish.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
A sunny and cold start to your new work week. Highs 3 below with wind chill values as low as 35 below. Overnight, partly cloudy with the low around 14 below. South winds 9 to 14 miles per hour with gusts as high as 20. This weather update is brought to you by Brady's Service Center in Moorhead. Brady's Service Center is your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs, and with donuts, breakfast, and lunch items daily, they're also your one-stop shop for all your road trip needs.
Everyone wants to lose a few pounds for the new year. Not us. I'm Rachel with Waxing the City, an exclusive facial and body waxing studio for men and women. We love you just the way you are. Come to Waxing the City and join Club Orange. Not only will you get silky smooth skin when you join Club Orange, you'll get 20% off services each month and 10% off of all products. Join Club Orange at Waxing the City on 13th Avenue just west of Target.
Let's go waxing the city!
Rick Electric wants to say thanks for a great 2022 and looks forward to serving you and all new customers in the new year. Plus, Rick Electric wants to say thanks for voting them the best electrical contractor in the Red River Valley. Since 1964, Rick Electric has been serving homeowners and businesses with troubleshooting, repairs, new construction, and over a dozen projects in my home. Rick Electric. Schedule online or request an estimate at rickelectric.com.
Nutrisource is now introducing Superstars. It's a soft and tasty training reward for your pup in 4 delicious flavors: real chicken, cheddar cheese, beef, and real bacon. Each treat is less than 3 calories, and 100% of the profits from these treats go to the Nutrisource Superstars program, a program dedicated to helping family, children, and pets facing hardships. For more information on Nutrisource Superstars and all the organizations they support, go to NutrisourcePetFoods.com/giving-back.
Take us with you wherever you go with the Bison 1660 app, powered by Thunder Seed, first in the field. Now, back to the Insiders.
Back with you inside our Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol produces 175 million gallons of ethanol per year. Plant located just west of Castleton. Also roughly 400 tons of livestock feed per year. You can learn more online at theraldsonethanol.com. Other news and notes from the NFL over the week that I found quite interesting. We actually had a little bit of breaking news right before the show got going in the NFL as the Chargers, who technically don't have Easton Stick anymore. He's going to be a free agent, but you never know. Could be going back there. But the L.A. Chargers have hired a new offensive coordinator, and someone Rob Hipp knows really well, Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator from the Cowboys the last couple of years. Micah's shocked by this, apparently. Kellen Moore was basically he wasn't fired. It was the mutually parting ways bit. Just basically didn't have his contract renewed by the Cowboys, and a day later he's hired by the Chargers. Rob's thoughts?
Yeah, mutually parting ways. It's just chatter for saying we're doing it professional, but we want you out of here. It's time to move on. And I don't know how much Kellen Moore really did with the Cowboys.
They were top 5 offense the last couple of years.
Yeah, but they had the talent. I mean, it's like you come in and you already have a team that has the talent that's there, and it's like, how much more do you have to do? I think a lot of it, you go back to Dak's play, and it's now the pressure. If we'll see if that's the way it happens, there's reports that Mike McCarthy is going to be calling the shots on the offensive side now. So we'll see how all that works out. I wasn't surprised. There's been a lot of chatter that Moore was going to leave, and then heading to where he's at. I think that was kind of in the pipe works. You kind of heard about it a little bit on some reports that came out. Is rumored this is where he may be. But I think
him
it's
and
good.
Brandon Staley know each other pretty well. So.
Yeah, and I think it's just a good opportunity for the Cowboys to kind of focus and reset, because that's been the problem with this team is they always have the talent, but they just can't find ways to utilize that talent to the best of their capability.
One thing I'll say about Kellen Moore is I would kind of agree what you were, I think, just sort of saying there is, yeah, his offenses were always top 5, top 6, whatever it was, but when he first came onto the scene there in Dallas, they had the best offensive line. They had a younger, fresh Zeke and 2 great receivers, and like they've had a really good offense. And I think the question is, okay, is this because of the talent on the offensive side, or is it actually because of the play calling? And then in the biggest games where both teams are extremely talented, it seems like they always come up pretty short on offense. But it usually is a bad omen or a bad sign where you fire somebody, and in less than a day, everybody has interviews with him, and he's been hired by somebody. It's usually not a great sign.
I'm gonna put on my future goggles right now. The Chargers future goggles right now. I'm going to see into the future right now. This is my prediction that the Chargers do have another really good season, but then Brandon Staley has another bad time clock management, bad decision making. Kellen Moore will be the next Chargers head coach.
Oh, it's a pretty bold prediction there.
Sean Payton will be.
But they already have Kellen Moore there. They don't want to pay for Sean Payton. They have to trade stuff to get Sean Payton away from the Saints.
I don't think next year they would. Next year, it's a contractual thing. It's like how many years he was under contract for the Saints, technically. I don't know if they had to go up draft picks next year as well.
Doesn't that contract freeze, though? Like, if Calvin Johnson unretires, the Lions still have him under contract.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works, but
maybe this cost us.
I think Sean Payton is holding out. I don't. It sounds like Sean Payton's not going to get a job this cycle, and if he was going to get one, I feel like he'd already have one. So I'm guessing he's holding out for maybe one that he views a little bit better and thinks, well, maybe the Chargers come open, or maybe one other one comes open this next time around that I think is a little bit more appealing. But Kellen Moore is going to be the Chargers. Does it worry you at all that he was immediately signed by somebody else, Rob?
No, I think it's because he does have that pedigree behind him. I mean, I know that I talked, and I'm not going backwards on what I said, but you have the players and the potential there. You have to do something to keep them playing at a level that they're capable of. Mm-hmm. They just could do more. I think the other thing, too, that's kind of sidetracked on this, that because you hear of Kellen Moore, and he's more of that dominant position at the offensive coordinator, but Doug, I've got to say his name right, Nussmeier, that is the quarterback's coach. He was also terminated along with Kellen Moore. Well, Kellen wasn't technically terminated. He mutually parted ways.
Exactly.
But Nussmeier is out of there, too, and that's why I alluded to earlier.
They made like 3 or 4 changes on the offensive coaching.
Yeah, and he was the quarterback's coach, and that's why I alluded to earlier. Now, is that going to put pressure on Mike McCarthy with Dak Prescott? Who's going to come in and take that over, or is it going to be completely Coach McCarthy on all of this?
Well, I think when McCarthy was hired, Jerry Jones said, we're keeping Kellen Moore, though, and we're going to do this and that. And now McCarthy's got enough cachet where he's going to say, I didn't really want him in the first place. I'm going to kind of make my own staff here, and I'm going to make the decisions the way I want them to be, which will put a lot more pressure on him, too. And maybe that's another spot Sean Payton was waiting for. Maybe if the Cowboys, flounder out again early, maybe they do make a coaching change, and maybe Sean Payton will want to go to the Cowboys.
I'd love to see him come back.
Yeah.
It'd be a reunion for him, and he did great things when he was there years ago.
News is that Dan Quinn has pulled himself out of the running for all the other head coaching openings, so he's going to be back in Dallas as the defensive coordinator. We know Frank Reich is going to Carolina. The Vikings have not signed a defensive coordinator yet. It does sound like DeMeco Ryans, not the 49ers, have lost. DeMeco Ryans is visiting with the Houston Texans today. He's probably about 95% positive going to end up being the next Houston Texans head coach as long as the second interview goes well, which means the Niners will be out of the defensive coordinator. It's a cool story, actually. DeMeco Ryans, I believe, went to school in Houston, is from that area. His wife went to school there as well, so this is kind of a homecoming of sorts for them. And it's not a great spot when you're like, it's a team that's got a lot of work to do, right? They do have the second overall pick. You got a chance to get a franchise quarterback, and once you get that, you can kind of turn it around pretty quick. Look at the Bengals. All of a sudden, they're like Super Bowl favorites every other year because they got Joe Burrow.
You just need that spark. When you're at the bottom of the barrel, what's gonna cause that level in the barrel to rise back to the top? You need that spark, and maybe it's that second-round draft pick. And I kind of made a noise there in the background, not realizing, but it's tough. You go into a program that just has not had success, and Houston is in desperate need of success, and maybe a hometown flavor will bring that level back up to where it needs to be.
I do think he's a good coach.
Quarterback and offensive line. Get that for the Texans, and then we can start talking about them on the regular.
That's why I said quarterback's the most important. After that, you have to have a great offensive line.
Protect
even better
that.
than receivers and corners and edge rushers. I think it's the most important one.
Protect that asset. Protect that number 1 pick or number 2 pick.
By the way, I think a future segment of Micah Bindy's future goggles, or Micah Bindy puts on the future goggles and we ask him questions and he predicts the future. I think that's got some staying power for the show.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have good future goggles.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of like a tinfoil hat one, like conspiracy theory time. Like have a conspiracy theory segment.
That too.
That'd be another good one.
Micah Bindy's future goggles. If there's a sponsor out there, you want to sponsor the future goggles, like, hey, there we go.
There it is.
You can actually make future goggles.
As long as it's not like your gambling predictions, then we'll be all right, Micah.
Well, yeah, I can't predict the future in that, but
yeah. Everything else, you're probably really spot on. I have to guess. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Hour number 2 gets started on the other side. Our NFL news and notes, some quotes from over the weekend, also some newsworthy stories. Is Brock Purdy okay? Obviously, he was not playing well at the end of that game. What's his outlook for next year? How does that affect Trey Lance? Go over that and a whole lot more. Hour number 2 of the Insiders coming up here in just a bit. Hour number 1 was brought to you by Rick Electric. But you need electrical work, you need Rick Electric. For over 56 years, Rick Electric has been providing excellent electrical services for homes and businesses. Visit them on rickelectric.com online. We'll take a break. Back with more next.
About a month ago, we had some unexpected plumbing issues. We called Valley Service Mechanical in a panic and were pleasantly surprised with the professional that came to our rescue. He took the time to explain the issues to us, and you could really tell he enjoyed what he was doing and the pride he had representing Valley Service Mechanical.
When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
Experience is what builds the future of glass at Cardinal IG in Fargo. Cardinal IG is leading the industry in the development of superior glass for the residential window industry. Their highly motivated and talented employees design and manufacture the best glass in the industry. This January, Cardinal IG would like to say thank you to Araz Khalid, who is celebrating 10 years, and to Cyril Dermian and Teresa Arap, who are celebrating their first year at Cardinal IG. To view open positions or to apply, visit cardinalfargo.com.
Happy Smooth Year! I'm Rachel with Waxing the City, an exclusive facial and body waxing studio for men and women. If it's been 6 months since your last visit or you've never tried Waxing the City, I invite you to try us and get 50% off your first service. We offer waxing for the body, face, arms, legs, back, bikini, and we even do Brazilians for women and men. Yes, Brazilians for men. Call and schedule your first appointment and get 50% off your first service. Waxing the City on 13th Avenue, just west of Target.
Let's go waxing the city.
Did you know hyperbaric oxygen can decrease inflammation and speed up your healing process dramatically? I'm Menley with Fargo's first hyperbaric oxygen center, Healing with Hyperbarics, conveniently located off 45th Street. We are celebrating 4 years in Fargo, and as the experts in treating concussions, brain injuries, sports injuries, and post-COVID symptoms, we welcome you to find out how we can help you heal. We have an FDA-approved device to diagnose concussions and can treat the same day to get you back to feeling better faster. Find out how we can help you at healingwithhyperbarics.com.
Hey, business owners, you have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do. DavTech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. DavTech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. A decade of service with a century of experience. Online at DavTechWindowServices.com. That's DavTechWindowServices.com.
Hey, this is Brent Wilson, the general manager of Corwin Toyota, and boy, do I have news for you. After 2 years of inventory issues, the wait is over. A selection of new Toyotas are on the lot, and I have over 100 new units arriving soon. I don't want these units sitting on my lot. So when you purchase any in-stock unit, I'll give you an extra $500. Apply it to your trade, price of your new car, or use it in our aftermarket department. Choice is yours. All incoming inventory is listed now at CorwinToyota.com. Just log on, pick the model and features you want, and call us to reserve it. Head over to CorwinToyota.com today to secure your new Toyota.
Theraldson Ethanol in Castleton is accepting applications for an E&I technician. Applicant must have experience with electrical and instrumentation repairs and maintenance of large machinery and equipment, as well as a willingness to learn procedures for the ethanol industry. Journeyman electrical license or greater is required in addition to 3 years of experience. Work Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Apply online at theraldsonethanol.com or email your resume to hr@theraldsonethanol.com.
Stop by Gateway Chevrolet and check out their great selection of in-stock Chevy cars and trucks ready for immediate delivery. Take advantage of invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Equinox and invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Silverados only at Gateway Chevrolet. Plus, find out about 2.9% financing on select Chevrolet models. That's right, 2.9% on select Chevrolets and invoice pricing on 2023 Equinox and Silverados at Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB West Fargo, KPFX HD3 Kindred, and K224FD Fargo. Bison 1660, powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's what you need to know.
According to NFL Network, the Texans could have their new head coach by tomorrow or Wednesday. A deal could be done with 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans within the next 48 hours. Meanwhile, ex-Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore unemployed for less than a day. He is now taking that same job with the LA Chargers as their OC, working with Justin Herbert. Our Super Bowl matchup is set with the Eagles going toe-to-toe against the Chiefs after Kansas City yesterday had a big win against the Bengals in the AFC title game, and the Eagles were victorious against the 49ers in the NFC title game. Hockey Hall of Famer and 12-time All-Star Bobby Hull known as the Golden Jet, has passed away. He was 84 years old, one of the most beloved names in the sport. I'm Brian Fenley.
You've got the insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders. Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
Super Bowl matchup is set. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 1 seeds. Jory Collins, very happy about that. Dylan Geisert, also women's basketball assistant, very happy about that. Kansas natives, I should say. Not Kansas City natives, but from that area. And obviously, Kansas City Chiefs fans, and they're very happy about that. There's a lot of Eagles fans, of course, that are happy. I am not an Eagles fan at all. I hope that the Chiefs win by 55. Currently, the Eagles favored by 2.5 points. We were surprised by that. Again, I think they're the most complete team. I think, Kansas City, Mahomes, all that kind of stuff. Were you surprised that the Eagles opened 2.5-point favorites? Anybody?
Just a little bit, because when you have the best player in the game, he makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. But maybe it's just
They've won one with him already.
The Eagles were so dominant in their championship game. Maybe that's why they're just like, wow, this team looks really, really hot right now.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to. I just think they looked a lot more dominant. Granted, Purdy, we know the situation, and going through quarterbacks
even against
and all
the Giants,
they were
they were dominant. Yeah. Makes some sense. But 2.5 early on. 2 weeks to get ready for it down there in Arizona. We will, by the way, have people live down there on the scene in Arizona for the Super Bowl, and we'll have people on. It's on Fox, so you don't listen to Tony Romo. You get it's Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson, I believe, right? That's the combo for Fox. Those two will be on it. Which means Fox Sports Radio is going to be down there quite a bit. All the cast of characters we have here on Bison 1660. So we've got a lot of people down in that area we're going to try and have on during the week of the Super Bowl leading up to obviously the game there on Sunday between the Eagles and the Chiefs. So stay tuned for that stuff. We will hopefully have some giveaways for you that week as well. We do have some tickets to give away today. NDSU women's basketball, they host South Dakota coming up here on Thursday, and then South Dakota State also on Saturday. So 2 very good, very important games. Means a lot for the standings, especially that game against South Dakota. Already beat USD once this year. You win this one, you get the season sweep, and you have a 1.5-game lead for second place in the league. So a lot of importance on that game on Thursday, but come out for both of them Thursday and Saturday. We'll be giving away those tickets here coming up in just a little bit. Wanted to go through some NFL notes and quotes, though. Went through this last week. Going to do it again this week after Championship Sunday. Get our football bed music primed up and ready. One Micah Bindi, thank you very much. Everyone says that players will always say, I don't hear the white noise. If it's not in this locker room, I don't hear it. I just in one ear, out the other. We're focused. We don't hear all that stuff, all the trash talk, all the fan bases saying this. We don't hear any of that stuff. Call baloney on it. I've called baloney on that quite a bit over the years because they obviously do, and they have. They say football players should have short-term memories. They don't. They have long-term memories. They remember something that one fan said about them 10 years ago, and it sticks in their craw, and they remember it. And then when they win, they come on and say, "Oh yeah, see, look at me now." Perfect example of that last night after the Chiefs get the win. Great player, fun dude. Always likes to have a little extra fun. Travis Kelce, post-game on the podium after the Chiefs got the win.
Hey, I got some wise words for that Cincinnati mayor. Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni. You gotta fight for your right to party.
There you go, Travis Kelce. The mayor of Cincinnati, I think, came out with a decree last week that they had a paternity test, and yes, Joe Burrow is Patrick Mahomes' father, basically. Yeah, they heard that, and clearly it was motivation for them. So I no longer want to hear players say, "Oh, we don't listen to the outside noise." Clearly they do, because it stuck in his craw all week long. It was the first thing he thought of after the win.
Yeah, he's going back, talking right at it. And that's what I love about these sports rivalries. And when stuff starts happening, everybody gets a little, they want to start saying some things.
What was the first thing said, too? I think it was Frank Clark was there, and Travis Kelce came over when Mahomes was doing his post-game interview on CBS there.
Burrowhead
ain't Burrowhead anymore. This is Mahomes' house and all that kind of, all that stuff. Yeah, you heard it all. You clearly cared about it. You clearly rubbed you the wrong way. So I don't want to hear any player ever in the history of sports say, "Yeah, we don't listen to sports talk radio. We don't care what people say. It doesn't matter to us. We don't hear all that white noise from reporters and stuff on Twitter. It doesn't matter to us." Clearly it did.
And that they're staying engaged on social media. Twitter's the king. They're staying so engaged, and that's how all this stuff just fires off back and forth all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care until they win, and then it's like, aha,
now I care.
You said this.
Yeah.
Receipt, here it is.
Also, all the players, you saw it with Stephon Diggs. I saw other players for Buffalo. Kayvon Thibodeau was all over it. Micah Parsons the same way. All these players who are on Twitter, when the team that beat them loses. So for Stephon Diggs, the Bengals lost. Now I'm going to send out a GIF laughing, saying, "Ha ha, told you so," or something. Kind of petty. I don't know how I feel about it. They beat you. So why are you making fun of them? They beat you, and you're at home playing. And you're at home not playing. At least they were playing in the game.
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau was chirping at the Niners, saying "Oh, you guys looked even worse than we did." It was that's not really. That's not a dig at you. Looked worse because the Giants looked worse. The Niners looked worse because their quarterback got hurt. It's a different story. You guys got blown out by your rival.
Yeah, some people need to just stay off social media. Whatever. Next one for you. So Travis Kelce, I love it. It's great. His podcast with his brother, I listened to one full episode of it last night. Him and Jason Kelce are hilarious. They are phenomenal human beings. They're funny. I think people are getting a little bit sick and tired of Travis Kelce. It's going to start turning into the evil empire that we hate, kind of like Tom Brady with the Patriots. It was really cool, and then it became something we all hated pretty quickly. It will start turning into that, but right now I think he's kind of a fun story. On the flip side of it, and this one was tough to watch, Joseph Asai, second-year player for the Bengals, defensive lineman, who had the late hit on Patrick Mahomes. That was a late hit. Rob, we agree on that. We're on the same page.
2 feet in, late hit.
Yep, completely out of bounds. Needed to be called, and it was. It was called correctly. That's a tough one because it puts him in field goal range, and not that loses you the game, but it kind of does, because if you don't do that, they're going to be kicking a 60-yard field goal in those conditions. They're not hitting that field goal. You're going to overtime. You have a chance to win. This was Joseph Asai post-game after reporters got there and asked him some questions. Tough scene, but he was a man enough to stand up there and answer the questions.
Dumb question. Come on. He played his butt off the whole game. That's a different question.
Overall, what it looked like guys were coming up to you on the sideline as you went through that. What was it like having guys come up and then kind of go?
Like I said, it was great knowing that I had the support of my teammates, and I gotta, like Sam was saying, I gotta learn from experience, and I gotta know not to get close to that quarterback when he's close to that sideline. If there's anything that could possibly cause a penalty in a dire situation like that, I gotta do better.
Things are happening so fast there, obviously. Did you have any idea you were at that sideline there? Obviously you're in full chase, and
Yeah, I was just in full chase mode, and I was trying to push him to maybe get him going backwards, because I knew he was going for that sideline. I was trying to make him go backwards, get that clock running, but I didn't know. I haven't seen it yet. I didn't know how far out of bounds we were, but yeah.
Tough one there. B.J. Hill, by the way, standing next to him, kind of helping him, supporting him there. I don't want to hear from other players now. I can't do a press conference. It's just too fresh. That's the worst moment of that young man's career. I'm not going to say life, because he could have had a tragedy somewhere around, but that is tough. When you lose a game and you made a play that basically cost your team a chance, not to win a game, but to go to the Super Bowl, to go to the game that you've been dreaming about as a kid. It was tough watching him. They had the cameras on him. He was crying. He was bawling full on. Players were trying to block the cameras out. Tough scene, but hey, stood up there and answered the questions and appreciate that from him.
Yeah, and I think, look, you and I have never played college football. We haven't played at a pro level and never will, but it's easy as a fan to sit back and say, like, why'd you do that? Why'd you push him out? But the way he responded makes sense. Sometimes you're in the heat of the moment, and yeah, you do have to have a discipline to you, but sometimes things are happening fast. You're trying to make a play, and it just came at an inopportune time. If this would have happened at the end of the first half, we wouldn't be talking about it that much, but it happened at the end, and that's why there's so much chatter about it. And again, you don't know what's going through his head. He's going full force, and those things happen, and it just happened, unfortunately, as I said, at the end of the game.
I want to give props to BJ Hill.
Yeah,
that's a heck of a teammate. That's a guy that I
heard him there at the
beginning
beginning of the clip saying that's a dumb question. Moving on, like
he was there
supporting
to
him a bit.
be right next to Joseph Asai and help him through this tough time and like one of his tougher moments in his career.
Asai just 22, and when you look at it, he had a really good game. That's the thing. He had 3 total tackles. He was in the backfield a lot. I think he was there once when forcing a turnover. As well, that I think on the Mahomes one when he kind of just was bobbling the ball. Osai was one of the guys that was there as well. So it's tough because he had a good game. He had a pass defense in the game. He's had a really good year. He's just 22. He's going to have so many opportunities to kind of like get back from this. But he had a tough scene to watch. Props to BJ Hill for helping. Props to Osai too, because there's been a lot of guys who have had bad moments in games and they're like, I'm not talking to you. Or they go to the post-game press conference, they go to the podium and they answer a question, then someone asks them another question, they go, they just walk off. They're just frustrated. They leave, and I'm not answering questions. I'm just leaving. And that was as tough as it gets. And he stood up there and answered the questions, and he'll be better for it. He'll be fine, and hopefully gets a redemption story. I'd love it if he becomes a really, really good player, like one of their key players on defense. Would be a pretty cool story, I think.
Well, yeah, like if he becomes like one of the top NFL defensive players, and he's up for Defensive Player of the Year, you see the resolve and you see the fight that he has, and making sure that he has a different moment that overshadows this one that we just saw.
23-20, though, the final. The Chiefs get the victory there. Other news on the other side of the championship weekend when you have the NFC championship game with the Eagles getting the dominant win over the 49ers. The key story there is Brock Purdy hurt. Comes out with the elbow injury. Josh Johnson comes in. Johnson gets a concussion and the elbow injury. And Kyle Shanahan literally said after the game, we weren't going to play Purdy again. He was not scheduled to come back in. The only reason he came in is because we wanted someone that could basically just take the snaps and hand it off. We didn't want to have to go full-on Wildcat, but we were never planning to put Purdy back in, just kind of the way it had to go. He has what is believed to be a UCL injury, an elbow injury. He's having an MRI today, but that is like the UCL is basically the Tommy John, and we don't know this yet. There's going to be an MRI. They're going to show the imaging. We'll see. There'll probably be a report later today or maybe tomorrow when I believe the 49ers probably have their exit interviews and all that kind of stuff. They'll find out more about the extent of that injury. There's a chance that is an injury that has to have surgery, and he might not be ready for the start of that next season. And the reports being that he couldn't even feel his arm and was still feeling a ton of pain, Purdy said after the game. Post-game press conference, Purdy saying, yeah, still a lot of pain in this arm right now, kind of shooting up and down it. And if that's a long-term injury, Jimmy Garoppolo is a free agent. That absolutely affects Trey Lance. We had Mark Willard on this radio station, this show last week out in the Bay Area on 95.7 The Game saying it's Brock Purdy's job no matter what, whether they win or lose this game. Well, the one other scenario is what about injury? If he's injured, well, Trey Lance might be right back into the starting role come next season.
Yeah, he was confident in his statement, too, because we brought that up, saying, well, what if they don't? He said, look, he's the guy going forward. My inside sources have told that this is how it's going to happen. But that is the number one looming question now for the 49ers. What are they going to do this offseason after the success that Purdy had? And we know about Garoppolo. We know about, hey, where's Trey Lance going to be? Is he going to be that guy? Again, I think that the Niners, and this is just me, just with how I feel and things that I've heard, I think it is going to be Brock Purdy. I think that he is going to be that guy just based on the previous success that he had. I think they're going to look at this and say, well, it was just an unfortunate injury, but he played well throughout, 8 or 9 games before that?
Yep.
So I think going into it,
a bunch of wins.
I think they're going to put they're going to roll the dice and throw out the cards on Brock Purdy, and I think he is going to be that guy. As much as I want it to be Trey Lance, I think it's going to be Purdy.
Well, it depends if he's healthy. He has a surgery on the elbow. I mean, that can be, now, for baseball pitchers, that's like a whole year plus. It's not the same for football, just a different way you throw the football. So I don't know exactly how long the injury would be, but if he's not healthy for the start of the season, it's almost the same exact situation as Trey getting hurt and Purdy being great. Well, now you have to go to Purdy, Well, if Purdy just can't start the first couple of games to say he's healthy and he can come back and start week 3, but in week 2, Trey Lance leads you to 2 wins and he has 240 yards passing, it's like, well, now you can't leave him because he's the hot hand. The quarterback situation in San Francisco is just ridiculous. It's like something I've never seen. It's not just a one year thing. This has been 2, 3, 4 years of Jimmy Garoppolo, and then you had the Colin Kaepernick situation where he got hurt, and
Nick Mullins,
he comes in, and then
C.J.
Beathard. It's been unbelievable. I don't know if it's a scheme they run, if there's something they need to change offensively, getting the quarterbacks hurt all the time and putting them in harm's way, but it has been unbelievable the amount of injuries they've had to that key position.
Well, and think about this, too, because in football, I mean, your championship window, it's not going to be open forever. And right now, the 49ers are still in that championship window where they have the talent and the capability that I keep talking about with other teams. They're in that championship window. Very tough decisions coming up in this offseason that's going to affect the direction of this 49ers team.
I think there's even a player out there, like people have mentioned Tom Brady, they'll mention Aaron Rodgers, Vikings fans saying you want a quarterback that stays healthy. We got one for you. Kirk Cousins stays healthy. He won't get hurt. I don't know if you want him, but we'll trade him to you.
Kirk Cousins
that's hilarious.
Was a Kyle Shanahan guy. They were together in Washington. So there is a connection there. And Kirk has been named for Kyle Shanahan's quarterback to the Niners for a while, but now it could pick up steam if neither the Niners want to go with Trey Lance nor Brock Purdy if his injury is that significant.
Lining up Matt Mayoko from out there, KNBR way. He's been on this show many a times from KNBR out in the Bay Area, lining him up for later on in the week once we know more about the injury to Purdy, what that means, and what the future looks like for Trey Lance out there for the 49ers. But I was right there with Mark Willard last week with this is probably going to be Brock Purdy's team next year. I wasn't quite as set in stone as Mark was because I thought, what if Purdy has a terrible game and looks completely overwhelmed? Then you're probably going back, or at least it's going to be a competition with Trey Lance. But now with an injury thrown in there, it's completely different discussion. Depends how long the injury will keep him out for, if it does at all. It's all speculation at this point, but that is a huge, noteworthy thing in the NFL on the NFC side of things. One other one for you. Burrowhead was kind of the thing everyone was floating around before the game because Joe Burrow had been really good. Already played for you the Travis Kelce soundbite. The other cool aspect to the Super Bowl, we've mentioned the Andy Reid Bowl with Kansas City being obviously where Andy Reid coaches now. He used to coach in Philadelphia. But you also have the two Kelce brothers, Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce, playing for the Eagles and the Chiefs, respectively. Well, their mom's got an interesting decision. Their entire family does because they're both going to be playing in the Super Bowl. Travis Kelce was asked about that one post-game and it being the Kelce Bowl a bit.
Cool scenario to be in, you know. My mom can't lose. I'll just leave it at that. It's going to be an amazing feeling playing against him and, respect everybody over there in the Eagles organization. And you won't see me talking too much trash because of how much respect and how much I love my brother. But it's definitely going to be an emotional game. That's for sure.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been more than the first time that you've had brothers match up. Maybe it's happened one other time, but I think I saw a stat this is the first time two brothers have actually matched up in opposite sides, played against each other in the Super Bowl. It's a pretty cool story that you grow up with your brother the whole time. You're thinking maybe one of us makes it to the league and has a really big impact. Well, instead you're both there and you're both maybe, Travis Kelce's definitely the best tight end. Jason Kelce's probably debatable as the best center in the league. And now you're playing against each other in the Super Bowl. It's a pretty awesome story.
Who comes to mind when you think of like brothers in the NFL? Manning comes to mind right away for me.
The McCourties. But they both been basically played for New England for a good chunk of their career. Those ones come to mind. There's been some other ones as well that I can't think of off the top of my head, but clearly the Mannings is the main one there.
I think of two guys, too, at Sam Houston, Zion and Tristan McCollum, who both got into the league, and that was a cool story. Twin brothers. That not just brothers, but twin brothers got in, and that's been a pretty cool story to follow their journey as well.
Joey and Nick Bosa. That could happen. That's Chargers and 49ers. Eventually that could happen.
Cordell and Tanner Volson.
Yes. Okay. Currently playing. How about the Watts? JJ, TJ, and
Derek.
You want me to call him DJ?
I don't think so.
That's dumb.
Derek Watt.
That's really dumb.
He's a fullback.
That's dumb. That needs to be something J. You can't go Derek. But you got to go DJ at that point. You got to steer into the skid. You had Obviously, the Kelseys, Watts. Here we go. Got Rob Gronkowski, and Dan Gronkowski was actually in the league, I guess, for a little bit.
Yep.
Had a brother.
I believe he played for the Cowboys.
And then you got the Jim and John Harbaugh. That's coaching. That's different. It had the Harbaugh Bowl when you had the Ravens versus the 49ers.
Oh, yeah, that was a Super Bowl.
It was
Super Bowl
the
coach.
Harbaugh Bowl. Yep, that was a thing with the in New Orleans when the lights went out there between the Ravens and the 49ers. Other newsworthy notes in the NFL, by the way. We had Harbaugh was visited by the Denver Broncos. The Broncos flew out there and visited with the Michigan head football coach, and apparently he's still not going to be going to the NFL. He's going to stay in Michigan, but they did fly out there and at least have a discussion with John Harbaugh.
How many times can you tell the Denver Broncos no, and they actually take it? Because Jim Harbaugh has a pretty good gig at Michigan. I don't know if I want to leave that when it's not a for sure thing in Denver that you're going to be good, and you might be handcuffed by Russell Wilson's contract and what you traded away to get him.
Apparently, DeMeco Ryans was also the finalist for the Broncos, and then the Broncos wanted him, and he said, "No, I'm going to go to Houston instead." Now there was more to that. He had like the family connection. That's where I'm from a little bit, but he did basically just tell the Broncos, "No, I'm going to go to Houston instead," which is not a great look.
That would hurt really bad that you're going to a team that has been bad for years now.
Well, they had a good run there at the end with Deshaun Watson, winning games at least.
Winning games, but they never felt dangerous.
No. Well, when was the last time the Broncos felt dangerous?
Peyton Manning.
It's been a long time for them then too.
That's not that long.
It's been a little while.
That's more fresh in the memory than the last time I remember, like the Texans being Super Bowl contenders.
Well, yes, but I don't think the Broncos are in a great spot right now. It's basically a blank canvas you have with Houston. The Broncos, it's like you better like Russell Wilson, because if you don't, you're stuck with him.
You get your own creativity, possibly.
That's what you get.
More leeway in Houston.
Yep. So there you go. NFL news and notes from over this weekend. A couple of quotes for you, and also some newsworthy stories. That coaching carousel starting to pick up a little bit. Waiting for those first really big dominoes to fall. You got the Frank Reich one. Dan Quinn staying is kind of a domino as well. And DeMeco Ryans might be that first really big domino to fall, as he's one of those highly sought-after defensive coordinators, and looks like he might be going out there to the Houston Texans. We'll take a break. We'll back with more here on the Insiders for you on a Monday next.
This is the Insiders on your home for NDSU sports. Bison 1660.
Sight on Sound knows car audio and its evolution over time. For the longest time, it was basically like listening to a conch shell. Then things got better with stereophonic sound. Then HD was next. Until now, high-res audio. Your sound system has never sounded this crisp, this clear. And you'll find all the cutting-edge sounds at Sight on Sound. With products fully in stock, a trip to Sight on Sound has never sounded better. Sight on Sound, Main Avenue, Fargo.
Bring it on home from Sight on Sound.
Quit hitting snooze for the same old thing every single day.
Oh no.
There's more to life. What about a career in the hottest and most exciting industry in the world? A career at Radio FM Media selling audio, digital, and event marketing is for people that are self-driven, personality plus, multitasker, persistent, have a creative streak, and love the idea of having a career instead of a job. This is a six-figure sales job for highly motivated salespeople. Does this sound like you? Send your resume to Jessica at RadioFMmedia.com.
So most companies claim they have good people, good product, good customer service, but the question is how often. We go the extra mile to take care of our dealers and our growers, and more importantly, their families and their customers.
ProSeed tries to bring a family-like experience. Farmers, we want to understand what their challenges are. We also want to bring products to them that help them overcome those challenges so that they can be as successful as possible.
Need seed? Think ProSeed. ProSeed.net, great seed at a reasonable price.
When it's time to make your next move, turn to Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty to put the full court press on your home search. Whether you're looking for a quiet home in the suburbs or something downtown, let Todd Kettermas run the point for you in the search for your dream home. Call Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time.
About a month ago, we had some unexpected plumbing issues. We called Valley Service Mechanical in a panic and were pleasantly surprised with the professional that came to our rescue. He took the time to explain the issues to us, and you could really tell he enjoyed what he was doing and the pride he had representing Valley Service Mechanical.
When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
Hey, this is Brent Wilson, the general manager of Corwin Toyota, and boy, do I have news for you. After 2 years of inventory issues, the wait is over. A selection of new Toyotas are on the lot, and I have over 100 new units arriving soon. I don't want these units sitting on my lot, so when you purchase any in-stock unit, I'll give you an extra $500. Apply it to your trade, price of your new car, or use it in our aftermarket department. Choice is yours. All incoming inventory is listed now at CorwinToyota.com. Just log on, pick the model and features you want, and call us to reserve it. Head over to CorwinToyota.com today to secure your new Toyota.
Rick Electric wants to say thanks for a great 2022 and looks forward to serving you and all new customers in the new year. Plus, Rick Electric wants to say thanks for voting them the best electrical contractor in the Red River Valley. Since 1964, Rick Electric has been serving homeowners and businesses with troubleshooting, repairs, new construction, and over a dozen projects in my home. Rick Electric. Schedule online or request an estimate at rickelectric.com.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
It's been a sunny and cold Monday with highs struggling to get above zero. Overnight, partly cloudy with a low around 14 below. And Tuesday, sunny skies and a bit warmer with a high of around 4 degrees. Wind chill values as low as 30 below. This weather update is brought to you by Brady's Service Center in Moorhead. Brady's Service Center is your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. And with donuts, breakfast, and lunch items daily, they're also your one-stop shop for all your road trip needs.
Gearing up for another season of Bison football? We've got you covered each and every day on the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Welcome back to the Insiders. Rob Hipp alongside Andy Rickoff. Future Bison great. Bison above average. Micah Bendy running the dials for us. As always, thanks for joining us. Had a little NFL chat, and you heard that intro come back in saying gearing you up for Bison football. It's never, Andy, the wrong time to be gearing up for Bison football.
Never.
Doesn't matter what month it is, what day it is. You can always be getting geared up for Bison football.
Well, it never stops, right? We talk about the NFL calendar. NFL's done a great job marketing-wise of making sure they're always in the news. You'll have the Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks. You got build up for it. And then a week and a half after that, 10 days maybe, you have free agency starts. It speeds up quick, and those 10 days, everyone's talking about what offseason moves could happen anyways. Then free agency starts. It goes crazy, wild, wild west for a couple of days. And then after that, you've got the Combine at the end of February. We'll get going. All the draft conversations will really start to pick up a little bit more. There's usually a trade in there somewhere. Derek Carr is going to get traded here soon from the Raiders. Maybe an Aaron Rodgers trade. Reports over the weekend that the Packers prefer to trade Aaron Rodgers. Depends on if he would want to be traded, if he's going to come back and play, if he's going to retire, and then compensation's a whole nother thing. But you've got those offseason storylines already, and then you get the Combine, then you get some pro days, and then you got the draft, obviously, and then you maybe have a month between draft and training camp where it is kind of dead most years. But they do a great job of obviously always being in the news and being on the forefront of everybody's mind. NFL or NDSU football is really kind of the same, because what happened in the last 2 weeks since the national championship game? You had, not always good news, but transfers, bunch of stories there.
Coaching changes.
You had coaching change with David Braun going. You just brought in Jason Petrino last week. You've got signing day. Again, the second signing period is coming up here as well on Wednesday. We will, by the way, have Coach Matt Entz on the program on Wednesday to talk about some of the newest faces. I don't expect it to be like another 30 kids or anything, but maybe another 2, 3, 4 players that will be committing to NDSU here in this second signing period. We'll make sure we have the head coach on for that one for a couple of segments, go over the newest players, and again, probably get his thoughts on Jason Petrino being hired too, and the search as well for a wide receivers coach. Then you got spring ball is going to be coming up after that, and then we're talking off-season storylines of who is the player that needs to step up, what player is going to be household name here or there? Who's the favorite? Everyone's going to be talking about, is SDSU the favorite? Is NDSU the favorite? All that kind of stuff.
And then who's heading to the NFL? We've got several guys there, so the cycle continues.
Yep, you get the NFL draft, and you're going to have Cody Mauch drafted. Had Nash Jensen was just at the NFLPA Bowl. Heard he had a really good showing there. There was some good news circling about Nash Jensen, so I was happy to see that stuff. So all that's pretty good stuff. Now we can get Cordell Volson on the program. Maybe reach out to him now that the season's come to a close for them and get his thoughts on the first year of his NFL career. So whole bunch of NDSU football storylines. That never really dies out.
Yeah, and it was great at the men's basketball game. Just a big shout-out to Coach Entz. He was there, and Coach Petrino was with him. I didn't get a chance to say hello to Coach Petrino, but I had a chance to say hi to Coach Entz and his wife, and great to see them out there, and Coach Petrino already getting ingrained in Bison Nation.
Mm-hmm.
We also forgot Senior Bowl this Saturday with Cody Mauch.
Yep. That comes
Should be
up
a fun one.
Yep, and that's kind of an NFL, but also a NDSU storyline at the same time, because nobody really is going to be watching the Pro Bowl, right?
No,
it's different.
It's
gonna
lost
be
its
flag football now, and they're doing other things.
I like watching the skills, like the fun games that they do, but not the actual game. No, I don't want to watch that.
I've never watched the game.
When they moved that game before Super Bowl, I get why they did it, but when they moved it like before, how they shifted everything around, I just lost interest in it completely. Yeah. It used to be fun to watch it. It's like, hey, the Super Bowl, now we'll go out and have this. It was kind of like a way to cap off the season, even though the Super Bowl should have been. But yeah, it's just lost its fanfare to me. It's boring to watch.
Well, they don't try.
It's just boring.
They don't tackle. They don't do anything. That's why I think the flag football might actually be slightly more entertaining. I might actually watch it a little bit just to see if it is any better or what. You get an opinion on it at the very least. But no one really watches the Pro Bowl for the NFL. But you have the Senior Bowl, which is going to be huge kind of for the NFL. Get some draft prospects, some hype up on some of the other players there. I think an interesting player at the Senior Bowl, Hendon Hooker, the quarterback for Tennessee that was like a Heisman favorite and then got hurt with the Volunteers. And second, third round pick territory, could sneak up if he has a really good week. Like, that's a quarterback that's going to be at the end of the first round or maybe mid to late second. I think someone could be pretty happy with.
You would be so happy with me, Andy. I did about a handful of mock drafts.
Yes.
And Hendon Hooker was on my list in that I believe I picked him in the third round a couple of times. In that handful. I was like, yeah, Hendon Hooker, sit behind Kirk for a year, and then we can decide, hey, is Hooker ready? Send Hendon Hooker as the starter, and then Kirk can go on his way to San Francisco.
Or Houston.
Houston, too.
Nico Ryans. Yeah,
or New York Jets, because they still won't have their quarterback to lead them to the playoffs.
Yeah, somewhere like that. But it's a couple of interesting names, and obviously we're going to be looking at what Cody Mauch does, and we'll get you all the reports there. Trying to have somebody on. I know Jim Nagy's always really busy when it gets to the actual week of the Senior Bowl, so difficult to get him on that week. But we're going to have so many other of the draft experts, quote unquote, that will be down there. I'm sure we'll reach out to some of the people and try and find someone that's down there on site and get their thoughts on what Cody Mauch has done. I would love the tackle positions for him. I think they're going to move him around to guard a little bit, see could he play inside, give him some different reps, different places, and hopefully we see that value continue to climb for Cody Mauch. I think he will be drafted higher than Cordell Volson. The question for me is, does he go higher than Christian Watson? I doubt that, because Christian was, second pick of the second round? That's really difficult, I think. I don't think Cody's going to get quite that high, but could he sneak into the back half of the second round with a good couple of weeks and a good pro day as well later on, and a good combine? I think he definitely could.
And we're just talking about the game, but practices itself throughout the week are probably, you can say it's more important than the actual game that happens on Saturday, because the coaches and scouts are all seeing you in drills against other top talent in college football.
If I remember correctly, Christian he had a fine game. He didn't do anything bad, but I don't think he had this huge, massively explosive plays in the actual game. But it was the week of practice for Christian Watson last year that had him flying up from third, fourth round guy to, he could be in the first round. He's a top 50, top 40 prospect.
And they voted him best player of his position, so Cody Mauch could be fighting for that spot, and be good publicity, none other than seeing him perform well.
The thing I like about those, when they name like best receiver, best quarterback, best whatever, it's the cornerbacks that will vote on who's the best receiver, the ones that went against them, who was the best one on this team. It's a pretty cool way that Jim Nagy and the Senior Bowl kind of run that operation. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Plenty left to get to. About 20 minutes or so left here on this Monday edition of The Insiders.
You've got the Insiders on your Bison Nation station, Bison 1660.
Don't let your profits get stuck in your truck this spring. Dirt, rock, let it slide with Super Slide. Super Slide is a plastic, non-stick, self-lubricating, and seamless liner that eliminates haulback in your dump box or dump trailer. Super Slide is available in various grades, widths, and thicknesses, and Horn Plastics can have you in and out in no time. Get your new liner now to ensure you maximize productivity and profitability in 2023. Super Slide from Horn Plastics, created and preferred for every job. Visit hornplastics.com to schedule your installation.
On Giving Hearts Day, show your appreciation to our war veterans. Give to the Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota and Minnesota. Find us under Veteran Support on the Giving Hearts Day website. Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota and Minnesota. Thank you, veterans.
Are you an electrician? Are you looking for a change? JDP Electric is looking for commercial, industrial, and service electricians. JDP is looking for both journeyman and apprentice electricians. You could start your career today with a family-owned and operated business who's been serving our community for over 20 years. Full-time positions available with great pay and benefits. Call 701-232-1991 or email info@jdpelectric.net. Start your new tomorrow today. Come, be a part of the JDP difference. When it's time to find a realtor, word of mouth is important. And Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty is a name Bison Nation says often. Todd has helped everyone from coaches and administrators to broadcasters and former players and their families buy homes in the FM area. So many in Bison Nation trust Todd to buy and sell their homes, and you can too. Call Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Cattermas with Beyond Realty. Moving the herd, one home at a time.
CHI Friendship is participating in Giving Hearts Day on February 9th. Every donation will be matched up to $15,000 and used to enrich the lives of people with disabilities. And join CHI Friendship at their chili feed from 11 to 1 on Giving Hearts Day at their Fargo location.
Hanson Runsvold Funeral Home proudly supports the Bison and appreciates the commitment each student makes to its success. Whether in the arts or other campus activities, these students are our country's future and deserving of our support. Hanson Runsvold is dedicated to helping families look to the future with hope and remember what we do today shapes our memories for tomorrow. Add the Bison experience and live life to the fullest. Hanson Runsvold Funeral Home, an experienced and caring staff with a distinct attention to detail.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
Whether it's the FCS, NFL, or productivity at work, we have you covered.
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
It's the Insiders on Bison 1660.
Here with you inside the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Theraldson Ethanol produces 175 million gallons of ethanol per year and roughly 400 tons of livestock feed per year. Also, our phone line, 701-476-1660, brought to you by Epic Companies, our Epic Companies hotline. You can call us up there and give us a question, comment, concern, whatever you want, though. You can also call in tonight on the Bison Basketball Coaches Shows, Coach Dave Richmond. And who else is going to be on that one with you tonight?
Jason Miller going to join us.
There you go.
It would be great to have Coach Miller on. And of course,
athletic trainer,
strength and conditioning, so he'll be joining us as well. It's hard for us to get players on the show just because of their workout schedule, practice schedule, but we'll definitely have assistant coach on tonight. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. 6 to 7 tonight for that one, and then 7 to 7:30. Jory Collins, women's basketball head coach, and also transfer forward, grad senior forward Taylor Brown will also be popping by on the show. It was kind of a fun game, a little bit more for her, the last one against UND, because her father, Mark, went to UND, played football there for UND. So that was a more interesting one, I would think, for the family. Clearly, Mark, who has been great to get to know on the road this year, had the Bison gear on. He was cheering for his daughter. But that one's also a little bit, kind of a cool aspect to it from the family standpoint when you got a father that played for the in-state rival. And she's been a tremendous addition to the team this year, brought some professionalism to him a little bit as a player that's been in the NCAA tournament with American. a fifth year, sixth year, I guess, really, of college basketball at this point. She played with Heaven Hamling as well in AAU ball, so it's kind of been fun to see their friendship and kind of chemistry on the court, too. So it'll be fun to talk about all that kind of stuff with Taylor tonight from 7 to 7:30. So stop by, listen to those shows, and you can also call in on the Epic Companies hotline to those shows.
I got outnumbered today, guys. Earlier we were talking about Romo, and you know how I'm all about Romo, always have been. Well, I've got outnumbered by you guys here in the Therrelton Ethanol Broadcast Center, and then also now Jake in Fargo said I'm with Andy and Micah. Tony Romo, god awful to listen to. I like that. It's a good description there. Just really
awful.
Trying to pour it down on me there, Jake. Trying to do too much, stepping on Nance all the time. He tries to make it all about himself. I mute the TV when it's a Romo game. Jake and Fargo.
But now it can now be 3-2 because on the Facebook stream, John Willoughby saying he was talking about Joe Buck is great in baseball, but I absolutely cannot tolerate Joe Buck. The guy has a love affair with Aaron Rodgers. Can't stand him.
Yeah.
But he ends it with Romo is hilarious.
Okay. So that's supportive then.
That is supportive.
Do you want to be known as the hilarious guy? I don't know if that's a good thing either.
I guess I think it's good to be a little funny,
yeah.
But Romo tries to be too funny. He's the guy that tries to be too funny in the room, and then it's just too much.
I think it was the round before, so it would have been the divisional round where there was a player that caught a pass and he tried to make like a dad joke, and it went completely wrong. He said the person's name 5 times in a row, trying to think of the joke, and he just never said anything. Just like stopped talking, and then Jim Nance just awkward silence. He just picks it back up. 4th and 2. Here we go.
Couldn't get to the punchline.
Didn't get the punchline. He just couldn't come up with it.
Awful announcing. Says Tony Romo confused everyone with where he said wizard is still wizardry.
Yeah.
A call about Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes made a crazy play. He goes, the wizard is still wizardry. And
see, I think that's why I like Romo, because that would be stuff that I would come up with, because I'm trying to come up with a saying and then it just falters out. I'm like that guy on Home Improvement, where he talks to him over the fence and can't ever relay correctly, so he goes back and butchers it. That's me. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's why I like that.
Comes up with stuff, and basically Romo comes up with a new word 5 times on a broadcast. It's kind of crazy.
I think I said something about Grant.
Over it.
I said something about Grant Nelson. It just popped into my head, and I don't know where it came from. But when he slammed it down, I said "skyrocket boom," and I have no idea what that means, but it just popped into my head.
Skyrocket boom.
I said, "Here's Grant Nelson, skyrocket boom," and I don't know where it came from.
Okay, just got to spur the moment.
Yeah, but I think that was better than Romo's wizardry call.
Yeah, wizard is still wizardry. It's like, okay, Tony, doesn't make sense, but it's Tony Romo, so we're all like, oh, it's just. He's so cute. He's Tony Romo. He's the guy,
We have to adjust our rankings now of the play-by-play with color the teams that call the games, because I think I had Jim Nance and Tony pretty high on my list.
I didn't,
but now it's dropping.
I've been saying this for the last 2 years, and I think people are starting to catch on as well. And to be honest, Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson did a lot better than I thought they were going to. Like that was a really good combo. I'm excited to see how they call a Super Bowl, how they kind of dive into that stuff. Kevin was kind of the new, not new because he'd been calling football for a long time, but he was like new to being the number one guy at one of the companies. Basically, you've gone through the circle of Jim Nance and Al Michaels and Joe Buck, and now Kevin's always been like the number 2. Finally got a big chance. I still think Kevin Harlan would be phenomenal as a lead broadcaster anywhere.
Harlan.
I think Ian Eagle doesn't get enough attention. Ian Eagle, when you get to March Madness and the NCAA tournament, you're going to hear Ian Eagle all the time, and it's going to be another reminder. He is phenomenal at what he does. But Kevin Burkhardt and Greg Olson have done a lot better than I think a lot of people thought they were going to.
What about the announcer? Oh, my gosh, I can't think of his name. He's like he has the iconic voice. He usually does he's Fox, and he usually like yells a ton.
Gus Johnson?
Gus Johnson, thank you. I love him.
Yeah, I think he's fun. Him and Aqib Talib were a really fun duo when they were together on games.
One of my favorite basketball, besides Kevin Harlan, was Marv Albert.
Yeah.
And I was like, 3, yes!
Mm-hmm.
That's like my favorite call.
That's a pretty decent Marv.
It's got a little Sean Connery to it. It's like, 3, yes!
Yeah, you have a little bit there with the Marv Albert sound alike. So it was great broadcasters. And again, I don't like Tony Romo, and other people do, but that's just my cup of tea. I'm actually fine with Joe Buck. I know John Willoughby hates him. He mentions it all the time how much he hates him. John in West Fargo is the same exact way, hates Joe Buck. I've always thought Buck actually does a pretty good job. I think he's better on baseball than on football, but I think he's always done a fine job. And Monday Night Football has been better this year. I think they've had a better booth overall, not as many of the complaints. I think him and Aikman, it's kind of the same thing they've had from Fox. They came over, And I think they've done a fine job, or did a fine job on Monday Night Football this year. So that was good for ESPN overall. It was a crazy, you talk about the coaching carousel, it was a crazy broadcast booth carousel this last offseason. I don't think it's going to be quite that crazy this year. But Sean McVay also kind of missed out on his chance. I think he realized that. There was an opportunity for him last year to get into television if he wanted to, but a lot of those positions are not only currently taken, but they're taken by guys that have like 5 to 10 year contracts. Like Romo's not going anywhere. Buck and Aikman aren't going anywhere from ESPN either. So a lot of those big-time positions at least are taken on the football television side of things. We got to take our last break, though. We'll come back, wrap things up here for you. But as we go to break, caller number 5 right now, 701-476-1660. Caller number 5 to 701-476-1660. You win a pair of tickets to NDSU women's basketball at home against USD and NDSU women's basketball at home against SDSU. We'll give you a pair of tickets to each one of the games. Some big, big games for the Bison women this week against South Dakota and South Dakota State. Caller 5 gets those tickets to 701-476-1660. Take a break. Back to finish up the show next.
A sports talk station that Bison Nation deserves. Bison 1660.
Why the sad face? My hip has been hurting so much. I even had to miss dance. Did you know that you can make an appointment with Anna at Apex Physical Therapy? She helped me when I got injured, and she'll get you back on the stage in no time.
Anna is Fargo Moorhead's expert in treating dancers and musicians. Call 701-364-2739 to set up an appointment. Check out all that Apex Physical Therapy and Wellness has to offer at apexptwellness.com.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla, with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
That was not the countdown to a new year. That was the countdown to your new countertops. Don't start a new year with your old, outdated house. Instead, call Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley today. In just a few hours, they can repair and refinish your outdated countertops, sink, tub, or shower. Call Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley at 701-526-3800.
Surface Specialists of the Red River Valley. Don't replace, repair, and refinish.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
These days, we're all looking for ways to save some cash. Have you looked at your insurance? Talk to your Nodak Insurance Company agent, because the more you insure with Nodak Insurance, the lower your premiums. Work with one local agent to package your home, autos, or excess liability, everything you care about. Then watch the savings add up. Ask your Nodak Insurance agent how you can save with a multi-line discount. Nodak Insurance Company, agents with answers.
Everyone wants to lose a few pounds for the new year. Not us. I'm Rachel with Waxing the City, an exclusive facial and body waxing studio for men and women. We love you just the way you are. Come to Waxing the City and join Club Orange. Not only will you get silky smooth skin when you join Club Orange, you'll get 20% off services each month and 10% off of all products. Join Club Orange at Waxing the City on 13th Avenue just west of Target.
Let's go Waxing the City!
Here for you, for all the Bison football coverage you can handle.
These guys do an unbelievable job, and you want to know what's going on in Bison sports? Tune into the Insiders.
The Insiders on Bison 1660 and 92.7 FM.
Congratulations to Ron. Ron, right?
Ron McClure.
Oh, Ron, our winner of the Bison women's basketball tickets. Those things filled up. We had 23 callers. Man, that thing filled up quick. These are hot tickets. They're good. They're a good team to watch. And I know there's been many people I've talked to over the last year or so and have been like, this women's team is getting better. And they asked me, is it going to be a fun team to watch? And I said, yes, before the season got going. I really thought so. And I've heard a lot of people say, I love going to the games. I love supporting women's basketball, man. It just hasn't been a winner. I'll go when it's a winner. It's a winner right now. Second place in the Summit League. It's a winner. That excuse does not stand anymore. This is a winning program. It's a fun program to watch. They play a really fun brand of basketball. And right now they're second in the Summit League. Second place in league play so far. So come out Thursday against USD, Saturday against SDSU, and we'll have more tickets to give away the rest of this week. Did have one more text message come in. This is from Rob Hipp's burner account, I'm assuming. Says, I love the enthusiasm that Tony brings to the mic. From Dan, a.k.a. Rob's burner account.
No, it's a legitimate Dan, so appreciate that, Dan. Hey, something that you guys will enjoy, too. I just got a random – I don't even have kids in high school, and back near my hometown in Georgetown, north of that area, there's a town called Hutto, Texas. Well, I just got an automated call because there is a quote-unquote threat of ice that's going to happen over the next couple of days back in central Texas. I just got an automated call to alert me that Hutto ISD is canceling all afternoon activities tonight and then classes tomorrow because of the threat of ice. The threat of ice.
Meanwhile, we're at -5 with a -20-degree wind chill in Fargo.
Watch out for that threat of ice, though. It's
Threat of
dangerous.
ice.
It
That's
is
what they do.
It is
Threat.
mean.
They shut down
They're
things
going to get
based on
under
the threat.
30. Get to 29 degrees. Oh, it's freezing. Could have ice. Threatening ice
They'll shut it
forming
down.
weather. Craziness.
It woke up feeling dangerous, that ice.
Yeah,
Watch
sure
out
did.
for it. It'll
Watch
beat
out.
you up.
It's a threat of ice there.
The threat of ice will shut you down.
Hutto?
It's called a Hutto, but the automated system said Hutto. Like Hutto?
Hutto, Texas. Not nearly as tough as us here in Fargo, North Dakota. That will do it for us on the program today. Thanks to Dexter Werner for stopping by. I always appreciate Dex jumping on with us. Tomorrow we get the Summit League shoot-around, talking some SDSU and USD with some big games on the men's and the women's side. And also we're getting towards that home stretch. Only 8 games left for the Bison, and I think 7 games left for a lot of the other teams in the conference this year. So getting that home stretch, start talking about the bracket, how that thing's shaping up, who the dangerous teams could be. So plenty of that on the Summit League shoot-around tomorrow. Also working on a few other guests for what's coming up with this Super Bowl matchup now that you know it's going to be the Eagles and the Chiefs. And we also got Matt Entz coming up on Wednesday with that next signing day for NDSU football. Looking forward to all that stuff, but that will do it for us today. Horns up, go Bison. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Stay warm, stay inside, and we'll talk to you again on Tuesday.
The new year brings new goals. This is Scott Zlondik with Cornerstone Bank. This is a great time to review your ag operation financing for the year. Cornerstone Bank offers an experienced team that you can turn to as you navigate through 2023. We're a locally owned and managed community bank. We've been specializing in ag banking for generations. We find the best financial options for business, ag operations, and your personal needs. Come see us at Cornerstone Bank and go Bison.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. I can't help but rave about the wonderful countertops that Northern Stone has put in my home. Now, something new to rave about. Tile. Northern Stone has a few openings for tile installation right now. You will